Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to round 13 of the Downunder Series V8 Supercar Championship in 2022, the final round of the season this year, and we've got a fantastic one here lined up at the Adelaide Street Circuit. My name is David Buckley, and joined as ever by Matt Sanderson. Say hello, Matt.
Yeah, as always, great to be here. I love this series, I love these guys, and as you say, it's the final round at beautiful Adelaide Circuit. This is a place that's got a lot of history, and it's concrete walls, it's an endurance race, a lot to be done, and a lot to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Speaking of history of the circuit, obviously he's at Adelaide Street Circuit, and it's been here since mid-80s. 1985 was the first race held at this circuit. And it was site of very many extremely historic circumstances. So Senna took his final Formula One World Championship win at this circuit. This is where Michael Schumacher got his first World Championship in the Benetton 1994 under those controversial circumstances, and it's been a fantastic venue for V8 Supercars ever since as well. It's been an absolutely stunning circuit. Just looking at the track map as well, it's absolutely fantastic. We've got fast corners, right-handers, long straights, everything you need to make a fantastic circuit. But coming into this round, Wayne Walker is our championship winner, champion-elect. He is on 2,700 points, and nobody can catch him at this stage. Craig Broadbent in second position. He's got 2,322 final points after drop points, and he could be, well, he's not going to be challenged by Stephen White, so I don't think he is here this evening, unfortunately. But Mark Young in third currently, before the drop points are awarded. Stephen White in fourth. Matt's decided he wants to join in on the action, and then Daniel Optisano, again, not here this evening. He's going to be in fifth position in the clean skin racing car. But yeah, looking at the season as the cars are going around on their first outlaps for qualifying, it's been a dominant season for Wayne Walker, hasn't it? What we were saying before the stream started, Matt, he's had 17 wins this season in 24 races. Yeah,
that's sorry, go on.
Imagine.
That is correct. He's had 17 out of 24 potential victories this season. He's been absolutely dominant. He had one DNF at Winton Raceway, and ever since then he's just been on a whole another level, despite the best efforts from Stephen White, Craig Broadbent, Daniel Optisano. They've all pushed him as far as they can, but it was just not enough in order to make it stick, basically, and he's just been able to dominate since then, which is obviously great to see, but we'll see if he can bring home one final time here at Adelaide.
It's looking good so far. The first laps out on circuit, Wayne Walker currently on pole with 1:16.791. That's about three tenths quicker than Jacob Fraser, who is behind in the Shell V-Power Racing Team Ford Mustang. But yeah, it's been a fantastic season all throughout. I mean, there's been I think every race that I've commented on has been absolutely fantastic to watch. They've really challenged each other, these guys. The skill gap is so small between all these drivers, and it's been an absolute joy to watch them battle it out constantly. So, should we see if we can find someone who's just about to start a lap? I think Billy Ebenheiser is just coming on to start a lap. So, Matt, if you want to take us through a lap here around Adelaide. Oh, that's I will actually take that around because Matt is currently having some issues with the server. Looks like he is spun anyway, just Billy. But yeah, just looking back at the season here, obviously Wayne Walker has had the perfect season, coming into drop with the drop scores. Every result's been 300 points, the max points you can get. So he is absolutely flying in that car. Craig Broadbent currently sat in second position. He didn't have the start to the season he would have wanted. There was a few races he didn't finish, or finishing outside the top 10, just not scoring as many points as he would have wanted. But coming into the into the second half of the season, he's really started to started to pull that together, getting his first one at Winton in round 5, and has really been there trying to score the most points he can throughout the rest of the season. someone else to look for. Obviously, Steve might not here this evening, but he's had a fantastic season, constantly challenging 4 wins throughout the entirety of the season, and he's been there to get as many points as he possibly can. It's been absolutely fantastic to watch him, but shame that he isn't here for the final round this evening. Daniel Optisano currently sat in 5th position in the championship. Daniel Optisano, Matt, he's not had, I don't think, the season he would have wanted. He's shown so much pace. Obviously not here this evening with us. He showed so much pace and could have challenged Wayne Walker for the championship, but didn't really have the consistency, did he, to get right up there.
Yeah, unfortunately, he's had a few DNFs. I think 4 DNFs, in fact. Even one last round at Gold Coast, which is very unfortunate. He was actually pushing for the lead of the race as well in the top 3 fight with Craig Broadbent and Wayne Walker that time round. So he's had the pace. It's just, as you say, it's just those small errors, those small mistakes that seem to cost him, and that's what matters. You need to finish with the points and get to the checkered flag, and it just hasn't added up in that way. But I remember you saying earlier that you want us to go around for a lap. We have got the top 10 shootout here for this particular round, so we'll see how that unfolds. But of course, first we need 6 minutes left of running here in the qualifying sessions. We've joined a bit late, unfortunately, and we will follow Wayne Walker on his next flying lap if possible, and see if he can give us a front eye view of the circuit itself. So I believe we're coming into the final corner now, which is Foster's Corner. Yes, we are. So onto the fast straight line across the start finish and into Senna Chicane, which is the first challenge up ahead. This is quick left-right kink. You carry as much speed as you can, use as much of the curbing as you dare. It can unsettle the car, and then a quick flick to the left on towards Wakefield Corner. Over to the left-hand side, use those breaker marking borders as your reference, and then slow things right down. And he's actually hit the barrier there. I was not expecting that. And you saw that little piece of concrete that juts out just slightly on the exit of that particular corner. I've seen that catch out a few guys in practice. Just kind of digs into that rear fender and just turns the car around into the wall. And that's a reset there for Wayne Walker.
Yeah, I think Craig Stoddard possibly might have done exactly the same thing just earlier, because I could see his what appeared to be his bumper lying in the middle of the track, which possibly would have caught Wayne Walker out there. But yeah, it is a challenge, this circuit. There's really not that much room for error. I mean, looking at even in the what you could call the stadium section and the conventional circuit, there's no gravel traps. It's just grass and then a concrete wall. So if you go off here, it's going to be a big incident.
Yeah, we're just on board with Craig Broadbent at the moment as he starts his qualifying lap down in towards Wakefield Corner, so leaving where Wayne Walker decided to end his qualifying lap. Then it's a quick left-hander, once again 90 degrees, Flinders Street, another right-hander onto Hutt Street, and then a short sprint to the back straight, which is Bartels Road. And this is going to be a great overtaking opportunity. Lots of horsepower on the road here as you get the cars way up to speed, maximum. And then it'll be a turn 8, which is a right-hand kink. You want to maximise your potential there. Slight lift there from Craig Broadbent as he gets through. Avoid the concrete barriers at all costs for obvious reasons. And down into the Brabham Straight. This, of course, is where a lot of history has been made over the years. Down into the hairpin, which is going to be slowing things right down significantly in these V8 supercars. Got to watch that right foot when you get back onto the power again. And the last few combination of corners as we go into the barrier here for Craig Broadbent. Unfortunately, that's going to ruin this particular lap as you come into the final sector. And he's decided to bin that before we get to the finishing line, but he was on a very quick lap there.
Yeah, so you can see just about 1 inch of extra room that you take and end the lap, and could end your race as well. So it's very tricky, this circuit. Hour and a half race we have this evening after the qualifying in the top 10 shootout. So it's a lot of concentration to keep the car on the road for that long.
Just going to say that Jacob Frazier is doing an awesome job in the 17 at the moment. He's actually sitting third. He's been coming and going this season in terms of the standings, but he seems to be right up there for this evening's qualifying. So this is going to be a really good showing for him in the final round for the season. He's about 0.4 seconds from taking second place from Craig Broadbent and 0.9 seconds from claiming pole position.
With you noticing, so I've just got a couple of new starters for the final round this evening. Surely, I'm sure they will just be getting used to the cars, getting ready for the next season. If that goes ahead, we've got Yuda Pasanto in the Psychopath E-Racing Academy car. I've not seen him drive with us before. We've got Chris Donnelly as well. I'm not familiar with him, so I believe he is new as well. Ricky Packham is a new starter as well. So we've got a couple of new starters for the final round, ones to look out for. No one really challenging the midst of the top 5 at the moment. It's all mostly who we'd normally expect, but as I said, Jacob Fraser doing a fantastic job at the moment. But Wayne Walker just seems to be on fire at the moment. He's half a second up on Craig Broadbent, and just doesn't seem to be too worried here.
Well, we're currently watching Jacob Fraser at the moment. He's on a personal best coming through Sector 1 and 2 as we speak. And it looks like Alex Kidas just goes faster with a 1:16.9, demoting Jacob for the time being. He's coming through the last few corners now. This is a really good lap here from Jacob. Coming for the final few corners, flick it over to the right-hand side. He does. Into the final corner, slams on those brakes. Round the final apex, a bit wide, unfortunately, but coming through the corner now, but gets on the power as soon as he can. Is he going to be fast enough? It's surely going to be back up into the podium positions. Comes across the start finishing line. And it's not faster. No, he stays in 4th. So Jacob Fraser, it was an improvement. It's a 1:17.035 for the 17 Mustang there, but is just not as good as Alex Kidas there.
Yeah, he's got one final opportunity. Oh, getting too much curve into the wall there, Jacob Fraser. He might just about be able to get out on track before the end, and unless he's really quick, I don't think he's actually going to have time anymore. But I think he missed the apex coming through the hairpin at the end of the lap, and I think that would have cost him less than a tenth. It's going to be close to get around the track in time now as Fraser. He's back on circuit, but I don't think that he's pulling over. Not going to have enough time. That's going to be him in 4th at best. Alex Kidas, that was a fantastic lap from him. He's been
another person that's up and down, isn't it? He's had some really good pace, but then again, it's the consistency, unfortunately, that seems to catch him out every time.
Yeah, slightly overshadowed by his teammate, I think. in Wayne Walker, it's got a lot to live up to as Kidas. But if he can get a podium at least this evening, then I think that would be a fantastic finish to his season. Not sure if that would push him up the standings any. He is down in 14th, so yeah, if he could get some good points, that would shove him up the order quite nicely. With drop scores, though, that doesn't put him up until 11th. So. Not quite sure. It depends on what the final results going to be from this race and all drop scores come in. But just over 10 seconds to go in this session. Everyone's on their final laps now.
Yeah,
Wayne Walker.
Craig Broadbent. We're just on board with him now as he just gets across the line in due time, and he made a slight. Oh, and Brett Gooden's right in front of him. Disappears just in nick of time. One of those wonderful things that sim racing has to our benefit. But he just touched the concrete wall, was able to brush it off luckily, but it's not a fast Sector 1 as a result. So he's on 22.9 through Sector 1. That's at least 0.4 seconds off Wayne Walker's best through that particular sector. He's got a lot of work to do in Sectors 2 and 3, but that's a lot of a gap to make up for in what is one of the fastest parts of the circuit.
Yeah, coming into the hairpin now. Nicely touching the apexes, doesn't get too much of that curb on the outside because that really doesn't settle the car, makes it difficult to put the power down. Gets into the barriers once again, just catches too much curb, being a bit greedy with the apex curbs there, and just sends you onto 2 wheels. And if you're on 2 wheels, it's quite difficult to turn the car.
Yeah, I would say so. Ricky Packham is currently setting his last final lap. Goes a bit wide into the final corner, comes across the start-finishing line, decides to back out. Knows it's not his personal best, so he will come home in 9th place. I think we still got Justin Bryce out on track. No, it shows that he's not, and we still got Matt Ogg still going around the circuit. I believe he's the last of the runners. It seems he's all the way down in 15th position at the moment with a 1:19.1. And not setting any personal bests through sectors 1 and 2. I think this might be his cool down lap, to be honest, as the session now comes to a close. So as we wait for the guys to go over to the next session, we've got a 5-minute warm up. Let's quickly touch on the results and see who is going to be going where, basically.
Yeah, so we've got Justin Bryce just about making it into the top 10 shootout. He is coming in 10th, and Ricky Packham, fantastic result for his first race in 9th position to get through as well. Mark Young in 8th, so it'll be going from 10th upwards. Whoever set the fastest lap in qualifying 1 will set the last lap time in the top 10 shootout. Paul Robson will go third in the Mobile One Appliances online racing car. Billy Ebenheiser, fantastic result for him. He's been threatening some pace in the second half of the season as well, in 6th position in the Java Sim Esports car. And Brett Gooden in the Starship Racing car in 5th position. Jacob Fraser, fantastic result for him in this qualifying session. He is currently sat in 4th. Alex Kidas in 3rd, Craig Borb in 2nd, and Wayne Walker, who set the fastest time in qualifying 1, will take the final lap of the top 10 shootout.
We're just going to wait for the guys to get going again as you have the starting order. At least you can take the first or anything from 10 onwards as fixed in place, and we'll just wait for those guys to start rolling out onto the road now. I believe we've got our first person starting to move at the moment. It's actually, interestingly, it's Ricky Packham instead of Justin Bryce, who, according to what my standings are telling me, was P10 in that, so I'm not too sure what's happened there, but it appears that he's going to be starting the top 10 shootout for us.
Yeah, I think just Bryce maybe having some technical issues, possibly stopping him from setting that time, but which could explain why there was a slight delay in getting everybody on track. But yeah, Ricky Packham in fantastic livery for like on the Atari Pac-Man looking car. Fantastic stuff. He's just on his outlap, getting the car up to temperature and ready to go for one-shot qualifying. If you make a mistake, that is it. We've seen that trip up Wayne Walker earlier in the season and many other cars, so you've really got to nail this lap.
Yeah, so it's go time, isn't it? You've got to focus 100%, no mistakes whatsoever. Make sure your tyres are warmed up, which he's taken the opportunity to do now on his warm-up lap. And there's got to be 0 mistakes coming into there. Very easy to do at Adelaide, of course, along with many other street circuits throughout the season. And let's see if he's got what it takes on his opening round to bring home a nice top 10 position.
Just coming through the final corner now. Not the best of exits to start the lap there from Packham, but across the line up to speed. Let's see what it can do. Come through the first chicane now. Nice enough. This is where things start to get quick. So braking into Redwood Corner East Terrace and so on now. Just a little bit wide of the apex, but safe enough through here. Don't think Ricky's going to set the world alight with this lap, but it seems to be pretty good so far. Now onto the back straight now, up towards turn 8.
Yeah, looking at sector 1, we're looking at around 22.1 to 22.5. We have a 23.4 at the moment from Packham here. So as you say, it's not the best sector 1, but we don't know what kind of pace everyone else is going to be setting at the moment. So it could be a decent top 10. We'll have to wait and see. And sector 2 times coming in now, 24.5. So that's a modest middle sector. So still on track here for Packham for a decent result as he comes through into the final set of corners here. Sector 3 about to be completed as he finds himself in the final corner. Back under power once again across the start finishing line, and we have as our first time here in the top 10 shootout as a 1:18.2 there, Dave.
Yeah, I would say not the best of laps there, but a pretty solid start for Ricky Packham. As we are just waiting for others to go out on track at the moment. It's not that we've got anybody else on track right now.
I think maybe Justin's having some further issues.
Yeah, I think there might be some confusion about who is to be going where. So we'll just wait for everybody else. We should be expecting Justin Bryce if he's not having any further issues. If not, then Mark Young should be the next car on track. But yeah, we'll just wait for official word.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. If not, Packham's going to have the first pole position of the season on his maiden outing, sticking to tradition, of course. It's always the way, isn't it? Whenever someone's on their maiden show, they always do really well. So it'll be great news for Packham if he can come home victorious.
The problem is if we wait too long, then we'll have to do this all again because there's only 15 minutes of this session remaining, and 9 of the cars have to set a lap. So I think we'll need to get everything sorted relatively soon.
I believe Mark Young is on the move. Potentially, you've got 2 cars coming out now, so it might be Paul Robinson. Yeah, Paul Robinson and Mark Young. So Mark Young's going to go first. Paul Robinson will wait until he's at least halfway round. Or, sorry, he's gone past into his flyer at least, sorry, and then he'll be released once again. So here is our next qualifier. Mark Young out on circuit right now. He's had a really good end to this year. He's had quite a few podium positions, especially at Gold Coast as well, so last week and also throughout the rest of the year, and that's really been propelling him up the standings in the latter stages of the season, sitting 3rd at the moment, or sorry, 4th even, after the points have been deducted from the cards or the missing rounds. He is under threat though from Daniel Obsano, so if he has a good race this evening, then he could find himself in a bit of trouble. In fact, have we even got Obsano with us this evening?
No, he's not here this evening.
Okay, so Mark Young will then be happy to secure 4th place in the championship. Stephen White may be under threat then. There's a few points in between them, but depending on how well Mark Young does, if he has a really nice race this evening, then he could actually go up into 3rd.
Interestingly, I've just had Justin Bryce go to the top of the ball on 17.6. I didn't see him on track at all.
No, that is true. I've been looking on the board and it said that everyone was in the pits this entire time, so that is a bit strange.
Yeah. Anyway, well, that's a 1:17.6 to beat for Mark Young as he comes across the line. We'll round aboard with him now and see how he gets on. So, a very big chunk of curb through the first chicane there. Manages to get it all held together. Not sure what the track limits are on that side, but I think the track limits might end up being the barrier, so nothing too much to worry about there.
You know when you've abused the track, that's for sure. It will let you know, don't worry. But he's now making his way.
Suspension in the mirrors.
That's it. It's a quick sector 1 here from Mark Young. So far, it's the best we've seen. 22.8 as he comes onto the back straight. Sprinting now, horsepower down. The Holden is going to be sprinting all the way down towards turn 8. There'll be a slight lift as he kinks over to the right-hand side, which he does. A nice downshift there from Mark Young. Oh, gets very close to the barrier for my liking as he gets back up to speed, straight on that right throttle again, and slowing right down as we come into the hairpin. Sector 3, let's have a look at that time as it comes through. 24.4, so it's slightly slower than Justin Bryce. Oh, he's on 2 wheels as he goes through some of the final corners here. Manages to get it, stop it from going into the barrier, should I say, and comes into the final corner now. Foster's corner, nice hit at the apex. He gets it back under power once again, nice and easy. Straight line for the finishing line, and it is a new pole position of 1:17.4 there for you.
Yeah, so it got a little bit wayward in the end there, did Mark Young, but pretty solid lap from him to put him into provisional pole for the time being. Paul Robinson now just about to start his flying lap as well. So coming across the start-finish line now, he'll come through the Senna chicane, I should say.
We're doing really well with our English today, aren't we? This is going great. It's almost like none of us learned how to speak before we even signed up for this. But yeah, Paul Robinson now coming through the first few corners, slowing things right down once again. This is a great circuit. I absolutely love the way it flows and the amount of track space that they've got to let these cars really run to the limit. And just making it way now, which should have a time on the board. It's 23.2, so again, we're kind of sitting about P3 at the moment, just in front of Ricky Packham and between Justin Bryce as from that first sector time. So he's got a lot of work to do now coming into sector 2. Turn 8 once again. Small lift. Oh, he's going to hit the barrier. Yes, he has. A slight glance there from Paul Robinson into the barrier on the Brabham Straight. That is going to cost him a bit of time, if not some damage. Hopefully not. That would have definitely had a glancing blow on the suspension of that car. And he's onto 2 wheels ever so slightly coming into the next few corners. We're into sector 3 now. That time was a 24.4 in the middle sector. So he's on par with Mark Young's time, but slower still from Justin Bryce. Final corner once again navigated back on the power once more across the start finishing line, and it is a 1:17.9.
Yeah, I think he probably was carrying a little bit of damage through the final part of that lap after glancing the wall at the fastest part of the circuit, but pretty decent lap nonetheless for Paul Robinson, and I think he probably would have wanted to go a little bit quicker, as we see Billy Ebenheiser now starting his lap already through the first chicane. Oh, he's hit the wall big time there. That's going to be at the end of his lap and big damage, surely. Oh, yeah, he can't get the car stopped. Has to back it into Wakefield there.
Yeah, it's not the best start to this lap, is it? He's going to be carrying damage now already. It's a 23... How did he do that? It's a 23.020, which is good enough for second place at the moment, if he can bring that together. But surely there's going to be some reprisals for that early contact coming into the second half of this lap.
On board from the kind of driver's eye, from my side, the steering looks straight, so doesn't seem to be too much issues. But yeah, onto the third sector now. 24-1 was the second sector.
Yeah, it's purple.
Yeah, purple through the second sector, so he's flying his Billy. Coming into the final couple of corners now. Dancing on the throttle there as he goes through the right-hander, and then coming through the final corner. Nicely on the power, and he comes up to the line. What's the time going to be?
And it's
1:71.
Nice pole position there from Ebenhauser and Java Sim Esports in their Holden. And did you know that also that Holden isn't going to be taking part in the supercars anymore as of next year?
So who's going to be now? It's just Ford. Who else?
Maybe some of the Australian guys can enlighten us on this news. But I was reading yesterday, and they were saying at Adelaide on the highlight set that Holden is withdrawing from V8 supercars as of next year. I don't know if that's just me misinterpreting. Maybe it was a different meaning, but that's what I took it as. But that's going to be a massive shame, because of course a lot of history for Holden here. That they've always been in the Supercar Championship as Brett Gooden starts his flying lap.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the whole Holden versus Ford rivalry, which I think is going to upset a lot of people. But yeah, we're looking at Brett Gooden's lap nicely through the first chicane and keeping it out of the wall. Coming through the third corner, breaking through Wakefield there, just about getting to the apex. I think he just drifted a little bit on through some understeer, but is easily carrying on through the right-handers. Once again, this looks a little bit of a understeery, oversteery mess coming through the apex there, but onto the back straight now. You've really got to maximise your exit coming out of that corner, because that would affect you all the way down here. Once again, you've got to maximise your turn there. Oof. Turn 8, very nearly into the barriers, keeps it going.
It's a 24.5 on the board, so we're looking at potentially third place at the moment with the times that we're seeing right now. So it's a decent lap here from Brett Gooden. He's been quite pacey in the last few rounds of this year as well, so we may be seeing the same again occur. We're looking for a top 5 position on the board once all is settled, and he's coming across the start finishing line now. What's it going to be for Brett Gooden and the 88? It's going to be P4, just in between Paul Robinson and Justin Bryce with a 1:17.8.
I think Brett could have possibly maximised that a little bit more, but decent position there for the time being is 4th position. And now we're on board with Jacob Fraser to do his lap. So coming through the final corner now. You really got to maximise your exit to get a good start to the lap here. Decent exit there, as we see Kidas just waiting at the exit of the pits. Coming through the chicane, not too bad over the curves. And then coming through now into the 90-degree corner section, very wide, just about keeps out the barriers. That's going to cost him a lot of time. Jacob Fraser there, not the best of entries, and that's really going to affect him through most of these corners because they all feed into one another. Final corner now on to back straight. Decent exit. That's going to help him all the way down here. We'll look at the sector times. 23.2 in the first sector, so not up there with the quickest at the moment. So he's got a lot of work to do in the final 2 sectors. Breaking into the hairpin now. Decently gut through there.
Yeah, it's purple through sector 2.
As much quick as possible. Yeah, purple through sector 2. So he's gained a lot of time there. So what the time's going to be? Oh, a lot of curb there through the right-hander. Doesn't seem to affect him too much. Through the final corner. Oh, Big oversteer on the exit, the wheels spinning. Comes across the line, third position, 117.566. So again, I think he could have possibly maximised that a little bit more, but a decent lap there for Jacob Fraser to put him into provisional third position as Alex Kidas starts his lap.
You're on to the final three positions now, so Alex Kidas needs to put the work in to maintain that podium position at the start of the final round here at Adelaide. He's going to be able to bring it together. He comes through Sector 1 now, nice and steady. Oh, bit of a drift going on there as he goes into Sector 1. Manages to hold it and prevent it from turning into anything too serious, though. He's managing the oversteer quite nicely here as he goes through the first set of corners onto Hutt Street as he goes onto the back straight. Nicely done. Uses the power and all of the track available. Gets up to speed in that Mustang. Now powering towards turn 8. This is going to be the really important part. Is how much is he going to lift? Coming into this corner, and he's puffs of smoke coming off the rear tyres as they try to protest, but back into line for the braking zone at the hairpin. And it's a 23.4 for Sector 1, it's a 24.1 for Sector 2, so no purple sectors at the moment. It's an aggressive touch of that curb, and he's going to touch the barrier, which he does in the final sector. That's going to cost him a lot of time coming into the final few corners. More curbage used in the penultimate, and then slowing down once again for the final corner. Back up to speed for the 17. It's going to be, I hate to say it, but it doesn't look like it's going to be the best of laps as he comes across the start finishing line. P7 for Alex Kidas. That's a massive loss in position from the earlier qualifying session.
Yeah, not a great lap from him, nearly a second off the pace of Ebenheiser, but Craig Broadbent coming now to start his flying lap. The penultimate driver through the first chicane very nicely.
Yeah, proper send down into the first centre chicane, wasn't it, there, as he comes into Sector 1 now. So I'll let you take this one.
Okay, so coming through the first sector now, we'll get some sector times in shortly through the 90-degree left and right-handers. Very, inch perfect to the barriers there was Craig. Fantastic so far. Good exit out of the final corner there, and then onto the back straight. 22.9 through the first sector, so that is a purple Sector 1. So he's flying at the moment through turn 8. Just about keeps out the barrier. Inch perfect once again, and breaking into the hairpin. Just about clips the apex nicely. You've got to be careful on that curb, but it does upset the car, causes a wheel spin. Through the final sector now. 24.4 through Sector 2, so we lost a lot of time in Sector 2 there compared to other drivers. Through the final couple of corners now, what's it going to be for Craig Broadbent? It's going to be quite close, I think, at the top. Coming across the line now, is it going to be pole? No, not quite. 117.403, so Ebenheiser still holding on to that pole position for now, but we have Wayne Walker to round us out on the top 10 qualifying shootout. Matt, I'll let you take this one.
Yeah, so starting his flying lap, he's got all the work to do now to maintain the status quo, and that is, of course, that nobody can beat him. And coming into the first few corners now, absolutely plants the centre chicane. Coming into the next few corners now, Wakefield slowing down. Oh, he looks like he's going to be a bit squirrely. He slows it down just in the nick of time. It was very sideways coming into the corner, but nicely held there by the defending champion. Flying nicely through these left and right hand corners and onto the back straight. He's got to make sure he plants the throttle. Bit of curbage on the inside that would have unsettled the car ever so slightly. And our first time is coming through now. It's purple, 22.7 for Wayne Walker in Sector 1. So already we're up on the rest of the field. Coming through turn 8 now. A slight lift, but no gear change, or was a gear change, and then straight back up into the higher gear. Slowing it down right very nicely for the chicane now. And navigating the final few corners of Sector 2. It's not the best Sector 2 we've seen. It's a 24.2, so not purple for that particular corner, but it should be enough to maintain that gap, that advantage that we have seen in the first sector. Into the final two corners now. Nice early upshift to prevent any wheel spin from the defending champion onto the start-finish straight, and it will be pole position as expected. It's a 116.6. That is a huge advantage, half a second over Billy in the 55, and at least 0.7 seconds over Craig Broadbent as well. So incredible performance as always.
That's not even the quickest he's been. He did a 16.1 in the qualifying one, so he can go half a second quicker, can Wayne. So yeah, he's really pulling no punches this evening, is he? So absolutely fantastic that from him. He really pulled it together in the final sector. Yeah, I think this is just Wayne Walker looking to round out the season as best he can. He's got the championship, so he might as well get as many wins as he can. But that is going to be the order for the start of the race. Wayne Walker in the Walker Racing Ford Mustang in pole position. Billy Ebenheiser, I think that's his best qualifying session of the season, starting second in the Jarvisum Esports car. Was a fantastic lap from him. Craig Broadbent in third position in the Racetech Steel Racing car. Starts the second row, and then Mark Young alongside him in the Peanut Racing car. Jacob Fraser in the Shell V-Power Racing team entry for Mustang is in fifth position with Justin Bryce in sixth. Brett Gooden in the Starship Racing car is in seventh with Paul Robertson in the Mobile One Appliances Online Racing car in eighth position. And then rounding out the top 10 we have Alex Kiedis in the sister Wayne Walker, the sister Walker Racing car. And then Ricky Packham in the Vanderlei Industries Motorsport car. Fantastic first race for him to get inside the top 10 on his debut in the season. And then rounding out the rest of the grid we have Craig Stoddard, Chris Donnelly, John Slow, John Wade, Matt Ogg, Bradley Martin and Yuda Presanta rounds out the 17 car grid as we see Murray Denny trying to get into the race, but I think he's having some issues, which I believe means he probably won't end up starting the race. But we'll hope for the best for him, and we'll keep an eye on that one. So yeah, 10 minutes warm-up session, just to get everyone back into the swing of things of driving a car with a lot of fuel in it. So Matt, what's your prediction for the race here?
I mean, I've got to go with what I've seen all season, and that is that Wayne Walker is just on a whole different level in the second half of the season. You know, at the start it was to and fro. We saw great battles between everyone, but it was always Wayne Walker that seems to get to the checkered flag first, and you know that's what counts at the end of the day. That's where the points are. So you know he's won 11 victories in a row, I think it is, coming in to Adelaide. And I think it's going to be a 12. I think it's going to be 12 races in a row, wins in a row for Wayne Walker, the defending champion, triple champion, already announced at this point. Outside of those, though, I'm not too sure. I reckon Craig Broadbent will, if he can get past Billy Ebenheiser early on, he can get that pace, get that rhythm like we've seen before. He's very good at consistency, and he can just put in lap after lap without mistake. So if he can get past Billy, I reckon he'll have an easy day and come home second. Past that, though, I've got no idea. We've seen Mark Young. He's been very strong in the second half of the season. You've got Jacob Fraser. He's always quite quick, but then there's always that question as to whether or not it's going to end well. You've got Justin Bryce. He's very pacey. You've got Brett Gooden. He's been very pacey in the second half of the season. Alex Kiedis. You've got all these names that have been up in their game as the season's progressed. You just can't put... I just can't say anything as to what's going to happen beyond those two positions at the front.
Looking here, Justin Bryce and Brett Gooden, whenever I've seen those two kind of in a race, they've always been having an absolutely titanic tussle between them. So once again, see if they'll be looking to have a good end to the season. They're on the same row, so they'll be fighting for the entire hour and a half, I can guarantee. But yeah, I'll agree with you. Wayne Walker is the one to bet on here. He's been on another level so far this evening, but yeah, as I said, the second half of the season has just been absolutely no answer for his pace. Billy Ebenheiser is one to look out for. He might want to kind of press the issue into the first stages of the race, try and get ahead of Wayne Walker, and just try and hold him up for as long as possible. Craig Broadbent as well is one to, as I said, look out for a decent position at the end. He didn't have the best starts to the season, a couple of issues, kind of technical issues and skill issues, I would say, in some instances, that have really knocked him out of the running for the championship win. But he's really brought it together for the end of the season. Currently sat in second position. But yeah, it's difficult to say who's going to do what. If Murray Denny can get into the session, he's not set a time at all in qualifying, so he's starting from the back.
Could be our dark horse.
He could be a dark horse. We'll have to wait and see. It looks like he is. Never mind, he's just left the race again. So yeah, I don't think Murray is going to be one to look out for, unfortunately. John Slow as well. He's He's been thereabouts, knocking on the door of the top 10. With the relatively small grid we have this evening, it's still 17 cars, but he could be in a good chance to get himself into the top 10 this evening, so one to look out for as well, I think. But yeah, all of those guys, John Slow, John Wayne, Matt Ogg, they're always battling each other tooth and nail. So yeah, it'll be fantastic to watch them. But yeah, it's going to be a fantastic end to the season. Hopefully, an hour and a half race. It's not going to be an easy one by any stretch of the imagination. It's not the biggest of circuit, in terms of how much space you have to get these extremely wide cars through in one piece. So it might end up being a battle of attrition to get these cars to the end.
Yeah, I think. I think there's plenty of overtaking opportunities at Adelaide. We've seen it throughout history. You've got Foster's Corner, which is the final corner. That could potentially be an option for some of the guys. You've got the hairpin at the end of the Brabham Straight. That's going to be a massive overtaking opportunity. Of course, long straight, heavy braking zone. It's always the classic way to overtake. I think that probably the most difficult part to overtake will be through the first sector. You've got the centre chicane, that's pretty much one car only. Wakefield Road, all the way through there. I think down into the braking zone at turn 3, which is Wakefield Corner, I think you may have an opportunity. But the rest of it, it's very much a flowing section, all combined 4 corners from East Terrace all the way to Bartels Road, which is the back straight. You pretty much want to be in a nice straight line for that entirety of that sector. Otherwise, you're going to lose a lot of time indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. If you're going to make an overtake through any of these corners, you have to be committed and, make the move early. Because if you're on the inside, then it's pretty much your corner. The other guy has to back out, otherwise he's going into the barriers. If you send it through there, it's going to end up in a big crash. And with the kind of narrowness of the track through there, it's going to cause a massive blockage. So you've really got to be careful through there. But as you said, there is plenty of opportunities to overtake. I think we'll see some brave moves this evening. It's always been fantastic watching these guys as well. It's always been fair racing and an exciting racing as well. So it'd be really, really exciting to see and round off the season in style. With 3.5 minutes to go in the warm-up session, and then we'll get onto the grid ready for the standing starts, and 1.5 hours of pure adrenaline, I would say.
Yeah, and before we get going, let's say a big thank you to the guys hosting this series. The Downunder series itself, they've been very open and friendly towards us, the drivers and organisers included, heading all the way into throughout the season and also through this final round. So big hats off to those guys before we get up and running. And of course, thank you to the sponsors as well. Service Australia, they have given us an amazing platform to host from. We're from England, good old England, and we have an amazing experience with the service that they provide here. It's almost like smooth. I've touched wood. I don't want to jinx it in going into the final round, but these guys have been able to give us the best experience going forward and hosting this series and giving you the streams that you enjoy to watch. And of course, we've got our sponsors, which is Noble Host, and they also provide us with the great opportunity to put all of this together and make it all possible. So once again, thank you to everyone involved in getting this championship up and running. It's been absolutely fantastic for us.
Yeah, absolutely. There's not been a single race that I have not enjoyed broadcasting and commentating over. So, thank you once again to the organisers, and hopefully you'll have us back for the next year if that happens. I will be certainly happy to call this again. It's been absolutely brilliant. But not over yet. There's still 1.5 hours of racing, so don't go anywhere and just enjoy it. I think. For a lot of the drivers, the championship isn't wrapped up yet. There's still points to be gained, still positions to be gained, but I think they're just going to go out and enjoy it. There's things to gain, but not too much to lose. Because at the end of the day, it is all just for fun. And I think that's what everybody's been having throughout the entire season. They've been having a lot of fun. We've been having a lot of fun. So it's been a pleasure. But yeah, let's just get ourselves ready for the race now. 1 minute to go. Looking at the warm-up times, I know these aren't necessarily representative of actual, the actual race pace, but Yuda Prasanta doing pretty well. He's gone at 1:18.5 on high fuel settings. He's up into third place, so getting himself shown as he goes over the the first chicane nicely there. He's doing pretty well. Chris Donnelly as well up into fifth position as well with 1:19.4. So qualifying pace, we could see some outliers here. Qualifying isn't everything when it comes to a race of this length. It's an hour and a half. It's not the longest endurance race in the world, but it's still endurance, especially if you're just doing it on your own in these cars. They're sequential gearboxes. You've got a heel toe on the downshift, otherwise the rears will lock. There's no traction control, no braking assists, nothing at all. So it's a very physical experience, especially if you're on the higher end gear. I've been saying all season, if you've got yourself a direct drive sim rig with a 4-speed back turned all the way up, some big stiff pedals to use as well, you're going to be absolutely knackered by the end of this. So best of luck to all the drivers as we just come to the end of the warm. Now we'll hear the very nice R Factor man, which we have enjoyed listening to all season, tell us all to get off the grid, and we will get underway for the final race of the season here at Adelaide.
I have to say, I wonder where you're going with that previous conversation about the big stiff pedals there. I was beginning to worry. I thought we was going to get monitored and banned from all of our streaming outlets. It's like, don't use these guys. But it was a nice save. I'll give you that as we go over to the racing session now, as announced once again by the loudest man alive in gaming history. But yeah, as you say, Dave, 90 minutes worth of racing. How can you not be happy to be finishing here at Adelaide? It's got so much history here, and it's going to be giving us some of the best action of the season, no doubt. As we wait for the guys to line up for the race, it'll be a standing start, and we'll soon be underway.
So just quickly as well, before we do get underway, a standing start is also something completely different to what a lot of people would normally be used to if they don't watch touring cars or something other than Formula One. It's so important to get off the line well here, because you could lose 4 or 5 positions if you get a bad start. So that is one thing that they would have been. As we've just gone back to the warm, I think we're just waiting on possibly someone else to get back in the session. Possibly Murray Denny, we'll see. But
he's still trying.
But yeah. He's still trying, bless him. He really wants to get into this race. As I was saying, you could lose 4 or 5 positions from a bad start, and you are playing catch-up for the entirety of the first stint, pretty much. Getting a good standing start is very important in a race such as this. As well as strategy. One thing we need to look out for is strategy. Obviously, pit stops and tyre changes will be required, as these cars cannot go 1.5 hours on 1 set of tyres and 1 fuel tank. So, Matt, while we're just waiting for the race to get back underway, what do you think we'll see in terms of strategy here?
I mean, it's very difficult. Obviously, I think we're going to be either looking at a 2-stop or a 2-stop, potentially with a splash and dash to the end. 90 minutes, 30 minutes in between those. It'll be about how well the guys can manage the tyre life, the tyre wear. Big danger zones, of course, coming in through Sector 1. If you start to oversteer the car to generate that turn-in, the rears are going to start to fade very quickly. And, of course, that's where all of the power is sent. So that's going to be a big problem for the guys. And they've got to keep an eye on that and manage that as best they can. That'll basically determine on how quickly they go into it. And it's a very fast circuit here coming down that back straight through Brabham. So that will really consume that fuel, and you may see guys start to coming in slightly early, but of course the danger then is that, again, as mentioned, you might have to come in for that splash and dash at the end. All depends on how much that right foot they use. You might see guys starting to up change early on the corner exits, potentially looking to save that bit of fuel, but also reduce that wheel spin in the process coming into the race. We'll just see.
It's all a bit in the dark for the time being, but it will all come to light in the race as we getting ready to get back underway. I think looking at the server chat, it looks like there was some issues with the grid order, so they have been fixed. Everyone is in the positions they should be, and we will be underway in the next few seconds as everyone is lined up on the grid. Yeah, Craig Broadbent was up in second when he should have been third, but
okay.
Underway, lights go on, the revs rise. And we're underway. It's a good start from Wayne Walker. Terrible start from Billy Ebenheiser. He's dropped back to third already. He's going to be under pressure from Mark Young. Wayne Walker goes off in lead. Craig Broadbent to second. And then Mark Young challenging. He's gone the outside through the chicane. Not able to move there. He's going to be under pressure now from Jacob Fraser behind. But the top three going away. Oh, that's someone left the rear wing. Who's that? Looks like that's fallen off. I don't know who that's from. But looks like everybody is underway.
Yes, for some reason, Justin Bryce on my standings is he's still in pit lane. He's not showing as in pit, but he's just not on screen at all. So I think Justin Bryce running into further issues this evening, unfortunately. But as you say, the top three are getting away nicely. Craig Broadbent into second place already. That's exactly where he wants to be in the closing stages of this championship. And chasing down Wayne Walker as we navigate turn 8 for the first time. Look at the speed they're carrying through. It's a massive train of cars as they just narrowly miss the barrier at immense speed and slowing things right down here for the chicane. Billy Ebenheiser trying to close that gap even further, but all said and well for the first lap or so.
Craig Broadbent's going to be under pressure for a long time now from Billy Ebenheiser. He's going to try and get that position back from the less than ideal start that he did have, but the top three starting to pull away from the rest of the field here as we see Jacob Fraser start to draw in as well. But through the first lap, everybody seems to be alive and well, and the order is relatively as it's standard. Ricky Packham is in one place, John Wade up a couple of positions there. As we see, Justin Bryce, he's showing to be racing and has a gap, but we can't see him. So not sure what's going on with that car, unfortunately. But looking back at the top three, there's Linus Stern through the right hand through the 90 degrees section. Obviously, no place to overtake there. The outside lines will be dirty as well. The track conditions are carried over from qualifying, so marbles, dust, and everything that's off the racing line will still be there. So that's one thing to look out for as well. As looks like Broadbent is just starting to break the gap between him and Billy Ebenheiser for now.
So we've got battles going on up and down the order as the pack is still pretty much condensed. You've got Ricky Packham, he's gone down a few positions, hasn't he? He's currently doing battle with Chris Donnelly for 11th place. John Slow is in the mix as well. He's had some great fights in the last few races for these higher positions. But just goes to show that the competition is still ferocious as we go further down the order, which is of course what we all love to see. You've got a bit of a squirrely exit on the final corner there from Chris Donnelly as he get back up to speed, coming across the start finishing line. And it has to be said, everyone kind of just being patient so far and just settling in, letting those tyres warm up.
Yeah, Wayne Walker starting to pull that gap now. He's just over a second ahead of Craig Broadbent. We know how good Wayne Walker can manage pace. He can just maintain a gap to pretty much the 10th lap after lap, and just give that a little bit extra where he needs to maintain it. So he's doing pretty good for the time being. Half a second behind Craig Broadbent is Billy Ebenheiser still. He is battling on the back of them. Jacob Fraser is doing a fantastic job to hold on to the back. If he can maintain that gap and start to creep in, then he is going to be a threat for the podium positions. Paul Robson, Brett Gooden as well. This is a battle for 6th position. They are fighting. Oh, Brett Gooden just kissing the wall there with the back end of the car. That shouldn't cause any damage, but he can't get away with doing that for too often. And he is right on the back of Paul Robson, nearly tucked under the rear wing of the Holden as they come across the start-finish line now to start lap 4. Nearly side by side there as Paul Robson and Brett Gooden through the centre chicane. They are really pushing each other for the time being. Fraser as well is right pretty much tucked under the rear wing of Ebenheiser as well through Wakefield. So Battles up and down the field here as they continue on. Oh, big squirrely moan across the curbs there for Fraser. He's managed to keep it out of the wall. But he's lost a couple of tenths to Ebenheiser, which he should be able to gain back through the slipstream here. Turn 8, just keeping out the wall. Ooh, you can see that in the background. Brett Gooden just nearly side by side with Paul Robinson here into the chicane, into the hairpin, sorry. Gets himself through. Does Paul Robinson try and get the switch back? He's not going to be close enough. So that is Brett Gooden up into 6th position. A fantastic move there into the braking zone of the hairpin.
Yeah, I was already mentioning how that was going to be a prime opportunity or prime location for overtaking to happen. That slipstream doing its work all the way down the Brabham Straight, and then one final dive down the inside. Classic move there from Brett Gooden. He now finds himself in P6.
The top 3 just starting to, or the top 4 I should say really, just spreading itself out relatively evenly for the time being. It's a long race, so the more you push at the start, it's probably going to hurt you later in the stint. So this is a prime opportunity to save yourself some fuel and possibly get that a little bit longer. You might end up using a little bit more on tyres as Ebenheiser gets very sideways, coming out of the right-hander onto the back straight now, and he's going to use that slipstream to close back into Craig Broadbent. We've seen that quite a bit throughout the season, but Ebenheiser seems to be very heavy with his right foot. Oh, big crash there! That's Jacob Fraser into the barriers.
Oh, and Paul Robinson as well.
Splitter. Yeah, he's lost the splitter, and that is going to be big damage for the Ford Mustang. Surely that's going to be a pit stop.
Yeah, Paul Robinson came across turn 8 and just had nowhere to go. Hit the front wing of Fraser. Just couldn't avoid it. There's no way. So he could potentially have some damage from colliding with that debris as Jacob Fraser decides to come in. Can't blame him for that. The car is understeering wildly. But that's going to be a massive loss of position now.
Yeah, that's going to be pretty much to the back of the field. He's going to have it all to do. As well, Bradley Martin has retired from the race. I'm not entirely sure what happened to him. So car's already suffering issues. We're not even 10 minutes into the race. So you can see the nature of the circuit really starts to have an effect. Apparently Justin Bryce holds the fastest lap of the 1:18.5, but I've not seen him on track at all. So no idea what's going on with him, unfortunately. That could be a strange glitch. I've seen it a few times before where the car is there for everybody else, well, there for you, but not for everybody else, so we'll have to wait and see on that one. Looking back, see if there's any decent battles developing here. Paul Robinson still just about with Brett Gooden for what is now 5th position, with Alex Kidas closing in on them as well. So battle for the top 5 is starting to hot up here. Mark Young is a couple of seconds up the road from them, and he is going to slowly start to close in on Billy Ebenheiser, who's about 10th quicker that last lap. But we'll see what things are like coming into the next lap.
To be honest, Billy's doing a really good job at staying onto the back end of Broadbent there. He's not letting him get ahead and get away from him for that second place. So, you know, having started second, he's got the pace definitely in this race to stay in this fight for the second place position. And he needs all the points he can get as well. He's currently sitting on 1,500. But, you know, if he can take home a huge chunk of points, he can easily move up the order to some higher positions. So he really needs this, does Ebenheiser, and he's going to go for it, it seems.
Yeah, Wayne Walker starting to check out a little bit from the front of the field. He's about 2 seconds ahead of Craig Broadbent now. So Craig is going to start to lose the slipstream effect, and that's going to leave him vulnerable now. Coming on the back straight, Ebenheiser is close enough that the slipstream is going to help. He's not going to be able to make a move through turn 8, but he's going to be right on the back of Craig come the braking zone for the hairpin, providing he gets through here okay. Everyone's fine. Not quite close enough to make a move this time round, but in a couple last time, I think that's going to be a very easy move for Ebenheiser, providing he can get to the inside of Broadbent.
Yeah, still have no news on what's happening to Justin Bryce, unfortunately. When I go over to him, he's just not there. I can't physically watch Justin Bryce. So if he starts to overtake people, I'm going to have a big problem because I can't see what they're doing. So, as you say, it might be a small error where the game, for some reason, shows people as invisible. I don't know. It's R Factor 2 stuff. But this fight for second now starting to heat up quite nicely. Billy is actually starting to get closer and closer each time by. He's now 0.4 seconds behind Broadbent as we come into the next lap. And, you know, we're firmly into the first half, at least, of the first stint.
Yeah, absolutely. And Mark Young is going to be looking at this fight as well and rubbing his hands together because he's close enough that he can pick up any pieces that come out of this fight. But half a second is the gap now as they come up towards turn 8. A little bit closer this time as Ebenheiser. If he goes through here, he could have a chance to make a move through the hairpin. Last lap times are pretty much identical, but yeah, not close enough this time around to make a move as Ebenheiser once again. So he'll have to tuck back under the rear wing, and he gets very wide over the curbs there, but is able to hold on for the time being.
That's the problem.
It looks like someone's had a bit of an issue. Who's going down the order there? That is... Who is that? John Wade. I think he is out of the race. His car is pretty much destroyed, it looks like. I'm not sure what happened, but that car is not going anywhere soon.
Yeah, looks pretty much dead. Yeah, the engine's completely gone on board, so that is not going to be going anywhere anytime soon, as he does in fact retire from the race. That's a sad end, unfortunately. Believe that was down at turn 8, wasn't it? Bramden Straight, so maybe just a nice whack into the concrete barrier.
So, interestingly enough, as that was happening, I saw Jacob Fraser and Matt Ogg go through side by side. So, Jacob Fraser ended up getting past, but because it was a yellow flag zone, I'm not entirely sure if that'll stand with the stewards. So, we'll have to wait and see on that one. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure how strict they are with things like that in this series, but one to look out for. Moving on up the order as well, Alex Kiedis is closing in on Paul Robinson as well, as we'll just keep an eye on the top 2 battle that's still going on, but he is about 0.4 of a second, very close to Paul Robinson coming through the hairpin, and that could be some moves up towards P6 if he can get that a little bit closer in the next couple of laps.
Yeah, Alex Kiedis certainly had the pace. I don't know what's happened in terms of the second half. Of course, qualifying, he was up in the podiums. He was one of the last runners in the top 10 shootout. But come the race, it just doesn't seem to be as quick, unfortunately. He's still fighting for those top 10, so he's still got some decent points up for grabs, that's for sure. But it's nowhere near what we was expecting at the end of that first qualifying session.
So going back to the battle for second place, the gap from Wayne Walker has just left, hasn't he? He's 4 seconds ahead of Craig Broadbent now, and these two are still dragging each other along. Marky Young in the Peanut Racing Holden is close behind as well. So it's just starting to drop back ever so slightly into the clutches of Brett Gooden. So that is a battle that is going to develop as well. Kiedis still chasing down Paul Robinson for 6th position. Gets very close into the hairpin, but not able to make a move on the inside. But yeah, I think everyone's just starting to get set into a rhythm here and get settled into the race. Say we're about halfway through the stint nearly. I believe it is about half an hour these cars can go on 1 tank of fuel and 1 set of tyres. Yeah, we'll start to see the strategies develop very soon, I believe. Ooh, Ebenheiser in the wall.
Yeah, it was a slight glancing blow there, wasn't it, on the exit of the centre chicane. But seems to be all in order, but that's of course allowed Mark Young to now get firmly into that slipstream as we come towards the back straight. So that's going to be a slight issue there. They seem to be falling slowly back into the jaws of Mark Young and Brett Gooden, so this could be a 3-way fight for second if they're not careful. And of course this is good news for Broadbent as he makes that gap ever so slightly bigger at 1.1 seconds as things stand.
Yeah, I think Ebenheiser once again has just about got away with that. It was a relatively decent whack into the barriers, but I think he hit the car pretty much square on the side, so nothing too much to do with damage. There's a little bit of bodywork damage once again sideways coming there through the left-hander. Yeah, he is falling into the clutches of Mark Young to possibly get here. I believe that would be his first podium this season in the peanut racing car, unless I am mistaken. So he's looking at a decent result here. Same with Brett Gooden. If he can get towards the top of the podium steps here, he would be very happy with that.
No, Mark Young's been having quite a few podiums in the latter part of the season, so this won't be his first podium, but it will certainly help him in his bid to maintain where he is in the standings. I know Stephen White isn't here this evening, but he's on 2254, and then Mark Young is on 1997. So I think regardless of where he comes today, I think he will still retain 4th place. The only real close threat will be Daniel Obertasano, but unfortunately he's not here with us this evening.
Through turn 8 is everybody now in this group of 4 cars. Gap at the top of the field. Wayne Walker is another second ahead of everybody else. 5 seconds is a gap now, so he's just having his own little race and enjoying the last of the season. We're not going to see. I don't think we'll see much on camera of Wayne Walker this race, as he's just off doing his own thing. But Ebenheiser starting to reel in Broadbent once again as they come to the last stages of lap 12 to start lap 13.
Yes, I think there's going to be 2 battles starting to unfold simultaneously right now. Mark Young slowly falling into the jaws of Brett Gooden, and Billy's starting to reapply that pressure for 2nd place and Craig Broadbent. So hopefully we can actually capture both at the same time and switch between the two. Hopefully there's a slight gap in between when these 2 battles come to a head, but this is starting to spice up as we approach the first pit stop here.
Interestingly, Jacob Fraser, after his earlier incident, he's currently holds the fastest lap, 1:18.3. So he's the fastest car on the circuit at the moment. He's chasing down Yuda Prestanta for 11th position. So Yuda having a fantastic race there. He started at the back of the grid pretty much, and he is currently up into 11th. So if he can get some more positions out of this, I'm sure he'll be very happy. But he is going to have to deal with the bright red Ford Mustang coming onto the back straight here, which I think we should keep an eye on. This is a battle I think that's going to go into the hairpin. So through turn 8, which I believe is where Jake Fraser had his issues. Is that a little kiss of the barrier on the way in, possibly from Fraser? Looks like he's okay. Goes to the inside, not close enough to make a move this time. He's possibly trying to pressure Prasanta there in the Psychopath E-Racing car into making a mistake. Defensive there from Prasanta, so just keeping that line to himself for the time being. And coming into the final couple of corners now. Oh, big sideways moment there for Fraser. Just about keeps it on the road, but that is going to hamper his chances for the time. He's sideways. He's really pushing that car at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah, of course, the concern is now that he'll be torturing those tyres as someone up ahead the road just has a massive lock-up coming into centre chicane. I think that's Chris Donnelly in the number 5. So these guys are starting to close in on him as well. So yeah, he's having further problems. Chris Donnelly off track, it seems. Very weird behaviour going on inside that Mustang as he struggles to get it back up to speed. But now they find themselves in a 3-way fight for 10th place.
Yeah, I think Donnelly will have a big flat spot on one of those tyres, because every corner seems to be locking one of the fronts. So that is going to be that's going to hurt him throughout the entirety of the rest of the stint, and probably get worse as flat spots tend to make themselves bigger over time. But coming through turn 8 there, everybody just about keeping out the barriers. Jacob Fraser looking to the inside once again. Big lock up once again from Donnelly. Down the inside over the curbs. There's minor contact between the 2 cars and not quite enough alongside with Fraser there. He has to back out. Goes to the inside once again. Nearly contact again. That's not a place you can make a move there. Fantastic defensive work from Yuda Prasanta here in his debut race in the season. And he's doing a fantastic job to keep back the hard-charging Shell V-Power car sideways. Look how sideways he is going through the final corner. It's dramatic and it looks fantastic, but it's not necessarily the quickest way to go around there.
Yeah, this isn't the V8 Drift Championship, is it? It's definitely Supercar Street Circuit Racing. So he's back up to speed once again, looking down the inside now into Wakefield, and he gets the job done. So That was a bit of an ambitious overtake, an ambitious move. Now Chris Donnelly seizing up for good measure once again as he finds his way around the circuit. Thing is, though, he can't afford to pit now because that will really put him in an awkward position at the end of the race. He won't have enough fuel to do a 2-stop. So he's hoping to at least get to the half an hour mark, I'm sure, as now Jacob finds himself right under the rear wing of that Mustang. Coming through turn 8, there's puffs of smoke coming from the car. Even then, that's a very dangerous spot to apply those brakes. And gets out of the way, does Chris Donnelly, to allow Jacob Fraser into the top 10. He's sideways for good measure, coming out through the hairpin and gets those 2 overtakes on the books now.
I think that was a battle he knew he was going to lose there. He must have an enormous flat spot on one of those tyres because every braking zone he seems to be locking up and it's just hemorrhaging time. So back down into 12th position there is Chris Donnelly. So he'll be looking to make some moves later in the race. Back up to the top of the field, the battle for 4th position and 2nd position is hotting up as well. As we see, Justin Bryce has retired from the race as well, but we didn't see him really at all anyway. Yeah, Billy Ebenheiser is about 6 tenths of a second behind Craig Broadbent. Brett Gooden is about 7 tenths of a second behind Mark Young. So these 2 battles really starting to come together now. As we see Ebenheiser not quite close enough to make a move through the hairpin. The lap times for these 2 just pretty much identical lap after lap, so I'm not entirely sure if Craig Broadbent is able to manage the pace of Ebenheiser or if Ebenheiser's managing the pace of Craig Broadbent, but either way they're doing a fantastic job to keep running this close to each other constantly. But this is going to be hurting Ebenheiser's tyres being stuck in the dirty air for this long behind Broadbent. Yeah,
I was just about to say that Craig's got the better situation right now because he's got nice open track space to manage those tyres as best he can. Sure, he's giving Billy the slipstream, but it's all about making sure those tyres stay in tip-top condition until you get to that final pit stop.
So through Wakefield there, you see how sideways Ebenheiser is. He's not being kind to those tyres at all. You can just see, I think Broadbent is able able to hold the pace while just being a little bit kinder on the tyres. So I think he is just in saving mode, but Ebenheiser is a lot closer this time coming up to the back straight. He's definitely going to think about making a move into the hairpin after turn 8. Go through turn 8 here. Everybody keeps out the barriers for now. Very close there. Look to the inside, just a little bit of a look there for Ebenheiser. Maybe just to throw off Broadbent slightly, but no such luck. He's going to have to stick behind that orange and black Mustang once again for another lap.
I mean, I understand if Billy is deciding to wait and play the long game, I do understand entirely why he would take that approach. I don't see the benefit of overtaking Broadbent now unless he knows he's got the pace to create a gap after that overtake takes place. At the moment, we've got Brett Gooden into the pit lane, so the first of the 4 decides to bite early, and that's with 1 hour and 7 minutes still remaining, so that's a fairly early pit stop, but we'll see how that plays out. We may see then a splash and dash there from Brett Gooden at the end of the race.
Yeah, but, looking at the battle that's developing, Mark Young's really caught up to the back of Billy Ebenheiser, and so he's thinking, I don't want to get caught up in that battle. Maybe he's looking for an undercut, possibly, to get ahead of them afterwards. He's going to come out of the road into traffic, though, so not sure how well that's going to work out for him.
You can see Billy's car is understeering quite badly as well. That Holden just seems to understeer and push wide on all of the slow 90-degree corners that we've got in Sector 1. So the tyre life is being hurt quite significantly by being in the draft for so long and for such a prolonged time. He's been sitting at about 0.4 seconds for lap after lap, hasn't he? So Craig Broadbent is starting to have a bit of an advantage. You can just see the way that it's planted in comparison to the Holden as he gets a bit squirrely even now coming into the 3rd sector. And Mark Young is looking on, probably with a heart in his mouth, saying please don't spin out in front of me because I've got nowhere to go, as the track narrows and then widens once again into these corners here. And they all decide to dive into pit lane now as Craig Broadbent leads the pack and drifting through the final corner for good measure. And also we have championship leader Wayne Walker in as well from the lead.
Yeah, I think that was I think Brett Gooden there possibly making a good move. He's got he did have a bit of a gap. He's got to get around Chris Donnelly, who's still trying to nurse those flat spotted tyres. They'll wait and see how he comes out onto the track. Craig Stoddard, Alex Kiedis, and Ricky Packham continuing on. No, Alex Kiedis into the pit lane. So 2 drivers continuing on for another lap. So let's see where Craig Broadbent's still stationary. Ebenheiser's jumped him. He's got to get around. He's muted there. But yeah, he's jumped at both of them. And Brett Gooden's jumped both of them as well. So terrible news there for Broadbent and Mark Young. They've been jumped by 2 drivers. Brett Gooden's going to have the warmer tyres. So he's going to be able to challenge Ebenheiser. That could have been a fantastic strategic move there from Brett Gooden.
All depends on how it's going to play out in the next round of pit stops, I guess, because, of course, if you decide to go in early, that's still going to mean you're going to have to go back into the pits early with more time still at the end of the race. So it's a bit of a gamble, I agree, but it has worked perfectly for him. It's maybe achieved what he wanted to do, but it's all about how it's going to end when that final pit stop comes into play.
Well, you can see a little bit of fuel in the slipstream of Mark Young for the entirety of that first stint, so he could be still on target here. So yeah, it looks like Ebenheiser is able to pull away from them, but that was a pretty decent move there for Brett Gooden to jump both Mark Young and Craig Broadbent. That's going to put him up into what will be P4.
Yeah, it's been a solid race so far here from the midfield. They've been fighting tooth and nail for those last remaining podium positions, and we are waiting for Craig Stoddard to go into the pits, which he does. He's going down the order now, as is Ricky and also John Slow. So we're back into position now. Billy Ebenheiser now 2nd place, and it has to be said, a sizable gap now over Brett Gooden.
Yeah, it looks like I'm not sure if he possibly took some less fuel, or Craig Broadbent didn't have the best entry into his pit box. Lost a little bit of time in the pit stops, and yeah, that's about 3 or 4 seconds that he's lost to Ebenheiser. So not the best round of pit stops there for the Racetech Steel Racing car. He's going to have Mark Young all over the back of him, but yeah, Ebenheiser's just starting to break away here. He's out of the slipstream range of Brett Gooden, and he's securing that 2nd position for now, about 8 seconds behind Wayne Walker.
Now the question will be, how quickly can Craig Broadbent get those new tyres up to temperature and start to reassert himself on where that previous position was, back into 2nd place. He's got a bit of work to do. You've still got Mark Young in the picture, 1.1 seconds shy of the rear bumper of that Mustang. And Brett Gooden is a whole 2 seconds ahead up the road, so a bit of work to do now.
And now Ebenheiser just set the fastest lap, 1:18.0. That's a good half a second quicker than what Wayne Walker could do at the front of the field. Yeah, Billy is absolutely flying right now. Have to wait and see if that pace can continue. The more he pushes in the beginning stint of his stint here, the more his tyres are going to struggle towards the end of it. So maybe he's just looking to build the gap now, so he's got that gap towards the end of the stint where the other drivers can start to close but not pass. Like Wayne Walker is reacting to the pace of Billy Ebenheiser and just put another second on him just in this one lap alone. So
because why not? You know.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, he's got it in the tank, so he might as well. But he is still absolutely flying. It is Wayne in the Walker Racing Mustang. Still flying as well is Jake. Well, I say Wayne Walker's just set the fastest time, 1:17.7, so a good 0.3 of a second quicker that time round. So he is, he's reacted accordingly. He wants the fastest lap as well.
Yeah, beating everyone back down again. Yeah, I'm in charge. Don't worry. But it is incredible to see a man just compete so consistently throughout the championship. I mean, these cars are all fixed setup. You know, they're exactly the same physics for the Holdens and the Mustangs, and they're all fixed setup cars, you know. So I don't know if it's whether or not the fixed setup just suits Wayne Walker more than it does everyone else, but to be on top so consistently is just you know, it's very impressive indeed. Triple champion. So, but yeah, Billy's certainly trying to put some pressure on, but still 9 seconds up the road is our defending champ.
Yeah, we'll have to have some Walker BOP for next year, I think, to bring him back towards the rest of the field. But yeah, he's in another league at the moment, and I won't say anything more because that when I tend to give someone praise, they end up crashing or disconnecting or something. So I will just shut my mouth on that one.
The curse of Chequered Simsports, we call it. Yeah, the commentator's curse. Yeah. He's alive and well, so we try not to give anyone praise.
So looking a bit further down the field here, Jacob Fraser, who had those issues earlier on, very close to the back of Ricky Packham here for 9th position. So this battle is starting to develop. Jacob Fraser very out of position after his earlier crash, but yeah, he is having a good race to recover, it seems. They're always the most fun when you have to when you have an issue earlier on and you have to recover and get back up the field. It's always the most fun kind of racing, but we'll see what he can do here. He's going to really tuck into the back of the Holden, coming through the first couple of corners. Not the best of exits there for Ricky Packham, so he's going to have to keep an eye on Jacob Fraser. Looks to the inside through Wakefield, not going to be a move, but a little bit wide there goes Packham, but there's nowhere that Fraser can go around here. Has to tuck back under the rear wing of the Pac-Man car, and then come onto the back straight and make his move into the hairpin. Good exit from both drivers. Turn 8 to get through first, and Fraser is going to have all the slips in the world. Looks to the inside.
He's
obviously
lifting
not
out.
Somewhere you can make a move.
Yeah, he had a little look and he lifted out, so he's waiting for this opportunity. Here he goes down the inside into the hairpin. Classic overtake once again here from Jacob Fraser. He's gone a bit deep actually and uses the curb. Manages that throttle to stop it from wheel spinning, which is very easy to do there, and that is a nice easy overtake for P9.
Yeah, next up the road for Jacob Fraser, Craig Stoddard in the BJS racing car. He's about 4 or so seconds behind him. So in the next few laps, I am sure we will see that battle develop. Mark Young has dropped off the back of Craig Broadbent. He's a good 4 seconds back now. Craig Broadbent looks like he's got Matt Ogg for company to try and get around. So yeah, the battle at the top end for the runner-up position in this race is just starting to spread out a little bit, as Brett Gooden doing a decent job to stay just about on the back of Ebenheiser, and then Broadbent just about on the back of Gooden as well, but would have been held up by Matt Ogg as he came through turn 8 and met him at the probably would be one of the worst places to meet a lap down car in this lap.
So just looking at the lap times here for Brett Gooden and Craig, he's 1.5 behind. However, he was 0.3 seconds slower on that last time by. That's before the lap traffic with Matt Ogg. So it looks like Brett Gooden is starting to pull away from Craig Broadbent here on that different strategy that he's employed for this evening's race. We'll have to wait and see if that plateaus, that pace, and potentially see Craig Broadbent start to reel him in as the stint goes on and those tyres start to wear more on the 88. But time will tell, and it looks like we've got a good battle for second place for this race.
Back straight there goes Brett Gooden. As you said, he's about 2 seconds off Billy Ebenheiser. Ebenheiser, I think he's just starting to manage his pace a little bit more now. He really pushed in the start of the stint, but he's just plateauing a little bit. The car looks a little bit less leery now as it comes through the acceleration zone, so he's definitely starting to back off a little bit. Just over half an hour into this race, 56 minutes to go, so still plenty of action to go this evening in the finale of the Downunder Series V8 Supercar Championship.
We have a fight starting to emerge for 8th place. Craig Stoddard and Jacob Fraser coming together now, as he has recently overtaken Ricky in the 11.3. So he's on a roll, Jacob, and his last lap was a 1:18. That's actually a decent pace to match the guys running in second place. So the only man faster is actually Wayne Walker. So very impressive here from the 17 Mustang for this part of the race, and he still has to close in for the gap and take this position from Craig Stoddard now, which is the next on the list. After that is Alex Kiedis, but that's a large gap, 6.5 seconds, I believe. No, even further than that, sorry, 10 seconds away is Alex Kiedis, and then a gap to Paul Robinson is a further 6 seconds. So the midfield starting to spread out ever so slightly, bar our top 5 positions. And he's going around the outside.
Outside of Wakefield, that's never going to work out. Craig Stoddard doing a defensive job there. I don't think he got the best of exits through Centre Chicane and put him on the back foot coming through this section. But I think this might end up being one and done for Jacob Fraser here. Comes through onto the back straight, got to get through turn 8, and then he'll surely make a move into the hairpin. It's not as close as I thought he would be though, coming through there, but he's going to get a good exit here. Looks to the inside, not going to be close enough. Looks to the outside, catches the wall a little bit. There's a little bit of damage on the fender there, as Stoddard nearly spins it. That's going to put him under pressure, but Fraser just holds on behind for the time being. That was a bit of a clumsy contact with the wall there from Fraser. I'm not entirely sure what that was all about. Maybe he had some issues under the braking, but that's just giving him a little bit of fender damage. Oh, big spin there, nearly from Craig Stoddard, and that has just released Jacob Fraser. Well held though, Craig. That was very nearly a big crunch into the wall.
Yeah, he nearly lost the entire front end of his car there, didn't he? That was a very nice save there from Craig. Or a bit too much right foot, but easily adjusted and prevented it from turning into anything much, much worse. But now he's got Ricky Packham right behind in 10th place now, as Jacob promotes himself up into 8th. Craig Stoddard right in between and under pressure once more. Of course, it will have heated those tyres up, that slide, especially the rears, as he comes through sector 1. And it looks like Ricky may be looking to overtake, come into the Brabham Straight.
Yeah, coming through turn 8 first. Just keeping a little bit out of the slipstream there was...
All into the wall goes Craig Stoddard at turn 8. He is a glancing blow. I swear he made contact with the barrier at speed, and that's going to cause even further problems for the 19. Ricky didn't go for the overtake, which I found interesting, maybe panicking it slightly as it whacked into the concrete wall, so decided to back off ever so slightly. But the gap already up to 0.5 seconds between these two.
Yeah, it's a pretty sensible move there from Packham to see that the car was possibly having a big crash, so just back out and give yourself some opportunity to avoid it if needed. But Stoddard managing to continue on. There will be some, at least some superficial damage on that car, but hopefully nothing more as he continues on. Doesn't look like the pace is too much affected. He's back up to speed now and is just trying to hold off Packham behind, but Packham clearly is the faster car in this circumstance as he's closed up once again through the first sector.
Yeah, Stoddard took some very strange lines coming through the sector 1, especially coming into Hutt Street. So he was almost mid-circuit when he entered the corner, and that's allowed Ricky to get right underneath the rear wing of that Mustang coming down the straight. This could be the lap that he takes the attack, or takes the attack to Stoddard, but no, decides to think better of it, potentially looking for the undercut as we go through the hairpin. No, he's going to have to wait for another opportunity, it seems. Still not close enough. The gap down to 0.4 seconds, though. So Ricky certainly is the faster of the two, as you say. Just got to wait for the right opportunity to make that move.
Yeah, it looks like Craig Stoddard might just be that little bit better on the brakes into the hairpin, and it's just keeping ahead of Packham for the time being. But it's just everywhere else on the lap. You can see he's really struggling on those tyres. Maybe carrying a bit of damage that's causing tyres to wear quicker, possibly. But he's able to hold on for the time being and just about keep the Atari branded car behind him.
Keep an eye on the car in 11th though, because they are closing in the 999. He's had a great race, up by 6 positions from the start, and I believe this is a newcomer to the series as well, Yuda Prasanta, and he is closing in on these guys. He was actually a lot closer before, making a slight mistake in the final corner, but his last lap was at 18.6. That is much faster than the two guys ahead as they now come together for the run down the back straight of the circuit. Oh, Craig Stoddart touches the inside wall and the outside wall for good measure of turn 8. That's 2 clobbers onto those right-hand panels, or sorry, the left-hand panels, should I say. Coming into the braking zone, he just seems to be beating that Mustang to death for good measure at this stage of the race. That's going to be a big repair bill when he enters pit lane. That's going to cost him a lot of time, and he seems to be struggling even further now. Ricky is looking left and right for an opportunity, and he's going to have to wait once again. This must be so infuriating here. He knows he's the faster car at this stage. Stoddart's making many mistakes, it seems, under the pressure, but yet he still can't find an opening to exploit.
Yeah, I think just having Craig Stoddart consistently hit the wall in front of you is just really putting him off. And where he's quicker, he just can't find a way around. Obviously, he had the better run coming onto the back straight, but that was just before turn 8, and you cannot make a move through there unless you want a massive crash. Oh, very nearly into the wall there was Packham, just about keeping out that little jutting area which caught Wayne Walker out in qualifying session earlier on. But yeah, Packham, yeah, he's so much quicker in the first sector, but just can't find his way around in the best overtaking zones. He's right alongside there, nearly. He's surely not going to try and make a move through turn 8. He looks like he's just about holding on, but he's going to back out.
Yeah, he's decided to think better of that. I don't blame him as well, because of course we've seen Stoddart going to the wall on a few occasions now. I think he wants to avoid turning it into a massive accident, which will cause even further loss of time.
Stoddart. Oh, just about avoiding coming together. They're side by side. Who's going to have to back out here? It's going to have to be Stoddart. And finally, Packer has got himself around. Yeah, Stoddart just breaking way too late into the hairpin, sent him very wide, and that is Ricky Packham up into 9th position on his debut in the series.
Yeah, I think that was really good reading of the road there. He just knew that if he just kept up that pressure, sooner or later Craig would make a mistake, and that will allow him through. And now we have Yuda Presanta right behind in 11th. And Craig Stoddart thought now he can relax a bit after the overtaker. Taylor Blacey nearly loses complete control in the exit of Centre Chicane. Manages to hold it with the skin of his teeth. Also, Yuda tried to take avoiding action. He looked slightly unsettled by the manoeuvre as well. But now another fight for 10th about to take place.
Yeah, it's poor Craig Stoddart. He's really trying to hustle that car. It looks like he is carrying some damage, which causes some handling issues. But once again, not the best exit onto the back straight. Yuda Presanta is going to look to make get closer towards turn 8. Through turn 8 now.
Oh, into
the wall. I think he's okay, but that would have been a big clonk onto the wall. Ooh, Craig Stoddart nearly grip rolls off the curb there on the inside. So I think that might be his defensive tactic, just to put on a show for the car behind him and just keep the position for now. But yeah, this is going to be it's a good job this is the end of the season, because these are going to be write-offs by the end of this race. Big lock up there for Stoddart into the final corner. That's going to give advantage to Presanta. He gets a bit squirrely on the exit though, so not able to make a move coming into the first part of the lap now.
And just when you think that this is all going to finish, you've got John Slow in the background starting to close in as well. So the fighting will continue on for Craig Stoddart. He's in a bit of a horrible situation right now, where just car after car are slowly gaining on him as a result of the damage that he sustained going through turn 8. But yeah, Yuda seems to be starting to apply some pressure, but he's at the same time, he's sacrificing the life in his own tyres. There's a few sideways moments starting to creep in of his own, and if he's not careful, he'll find himself in exact same shoes as Stoddart going into the next round of pit stops.
Yeah, he's got to be really careful that he doesn't cause unnecessary damage to the car. He's just got to wait for Craig Stoddart to make another mistake, possibly.
Oh, sorry. Battle for third. Battle for third here between Brett Gooden and Craig Broadbent. I think Brett Gooden had a slight issue. I've been watching this for some time as the deltas come together, but all of a sudden it went down to 0.1 second from about 0.6. So I think maybe an issue there for Brett Gooden, and now the fight is on between them and Craig Broadbent for third.
So one about fresh tyres does Craig Broadbent have? I'm not entirely sure how much of an advantage that would give him. As we see, I think Uniprocess got around Craig Stoddard eventually, but yeah, it looks like he's dropped back a little bit into the hairpin. So maybe Brett Gunn just a lock up or a bit of a sideways moment that has dropped the gap down, and is just starting to gather that back up and rebuild that gap.
Well, the last lap time from Gooden was 1:20.3. That's 0.4 seconds slower than Broadbent. As he goes, yeah, he's gone off. He's completely sideways, almost a full rotation, or so half rotation, sorry. And Craig Broadbent is allowed through. And that's looking after the tyres, that early pit stop. I said he was going to be able to close in at the end of this stint, and that's exactly what's happened. And Craig Broadbent goes back into third.
Looks like Brett Gunn just got a bit wide coming into the penultimate corner, got on the grass, and obviously you're not stopping if you go onto there. So yeah, he did a very good job to keep it out of the wall, but yeah, that is him down into fourth position. That releases Craig Broadbent to start chasing down Billy Ebenheiser, which is about 6 seconds. You can see him just up the road there coming into turn 8, so he's got a bit of work to do.
Unfortunately, during that time when that overtake was happening, Yuda Presenter has overtaken Craig Stoddard, and he's now missing a front bumper somehow. I don't know how it happened, but that's how it is. And now John Slow is right on the rear tail lights and looking to overtake for 11th place. So things are going from bad to worse for Craig Stoddard in this race, and he's just losing position after position, it seems.
I don't think this is a race that Craig Stoddard will be watching back after the fact. I think he'll be glad that we didn't catch whatever happened on camera, but he is still continuing on. I'm not entirely sure if he knows he's lost his splitter. That is going to be affecting his pace. Look how much time he's losing to John Slow through the right-hander there, coming onto the back straight. So John looking to the inside, obviously not going to make the move. You see Wayne Walker in the background coming up to lap them. So in the wall again. Brett Gooden in the pits. Sorry, I thought Brett Gooden made a mistake, but he's in the pit lane once again. Side by side, John Slow and Craig Stoddard. John Slow and Craig Stoddard still side by side, coming into left-hander at the end of the lap, and Craig Stoddard just about holds on to the position for now, but I don't think this is he's going to be able to hold on for too much longer here.
He's like an understeer. Yeah, understeering.
Yeah, got wide, absolutely no front end grip, and that has allowed John Slow through into 11th position. Craig Stoddard dropping many positions here. He's outside of the top 10 now, and he doesn't have a defence. I think the car has damage. Clearly, he is missing his splitter, so that's going to hurt his performance at the front end. And yeah, you can just see how much time he loses through the first sector.
Yeah, we've got Wayne Walker starting to catch up to these two now, so lap traffic starting to play its role in this evening's event. And I'm sure he'll be looking ahead and thinking, what's going on here? As he sees the Mustang try to make its way around the circuit in one piece. So I'm sure Wayne Walker will be taking his time when overtaking some of this traffic to make sure that no time is lost and no damage is caused. As always, he's very good at managing traffic. He's the defending champ. So I'm sure he'll find no issues as he comes down the back straight now.
Interestingly, Craig Broadbent is in second position now, and Billy Ebenheiser in third. I'm not sure if Billy's pitted.
That is, well, the last lap from Billy Ebenheiser was 1:28. So that, I mean, obviously the normal lap times we're seeing is 1:19, 1:18. So I believe that would be a mistake. There's no way you'll be around 1:50 or so for a pit stop. So I think it's a mistake here from the 55.
Yeah, and that's put him into third position. So Craig Broadbent back up to second place, where he was at the start of the race, and with a gap of about 3 or so seconds coming into the pit window. Is that the front bumper of somebody there?
Yes,
that was Nick Frazier. He's in the pits and missing his front bumper, so he's had another crash. So all of that work that he did to get back up to the pointy end of the field, all gone because he's now back into 13th place after a pit stop.
At least the saving grace of all of that is that he's in line with everyone else's pit stop. So although he has to spend more time in the pits to repair, it's not completely out of tune with what the car's doing in terms of fuel and tyres.
Broadbent and Billy Ebenheiser in the pit lane now, followed in by Paul Robinson. So we'll have to wait and see where Brett Gooden and Mark Young come out of this, because I believe they both made their pit stops. So obviously Billy Ebenheiser managing to jump Craig Broadbent last time. Oh, bit of an unsafe release there from Craig Broadbent. That's really hurt Alex Kiedis as he had to take avoiding action. So the steward will not look kindly on that one, but he has got out ahead of Billy Ebenheiser, and Brett Gooden has managed to jump Billy Ebenheiser as well. So once again, that undercut has worked for him. He is up into third position. He is right on the back of Craig Broadbent now.
Yeah, so back in second place, that Brett Gooden undercut hasn't worked its wonders as it did before. Now back into third place, as you say, he's overtaken Billy, so that's half the job done, but now finds himself behind Craig Broadbent once again. This is going to be a great race. I can see this going right to the end here, as we've got maybe one more pit stop to go to get to the checkered flag, with 40 minutes now remaining. I heard a big crash somewhere. Jacob Frazier has DNF'd, so that's now 4 retirements for this evening's race. Total tally of 13 cars still running.
Yeah, that was Jacob Fraser. Looking back at the replay myself here, he got it all wrong coming into turn 8, hit the inside barrier, hit the outside wall, and that is his race done. So unfortunate for Jacob Fraser. After showing some good promise early on in the race, he is now out of the running in this season. But back to the battle for second position, Brett Gooden, he couldn't quite capitalise on the cold tyres of Craig Broadbent. Looks like the gap is starting to increase now. So he's just going to have to try and keep on the back of him as they get very all over the curbs there, coming through the centre chicane. Yeah, I mean, the undercut is working for Brett Gooden. He is moving up positions, but is he able to... is it really working if he can't capitalise more and overtake people? I mean, is he? I don't think he's being overtaken himself. He's obviously got past Mark Young and Billy Ebenheiser and kept those positions. Yeah, is he actually quicker than Craig Broadbent over a few laps?
Well, I think regardless of what happens, it's certainly going to be a 3-stop now. The problem with Brett Gooden is that even if he is quicker, even if he overtakes Craig now, he'll still need to spend a longer period of time in pit lane, whether that be he has to take more fuel than Craig and the rest of the guys around him. So if he's gonna overtake, he needs to do it now and create a buffer zone between the two, in order to make sure that when he does go into the pits, that time is negated and he can still fight when he reappears for the final time.
Unless he can stick behind Craig Broadbent here and save that extra lap of fuel, and pit on strategy with everybody else, but that is a tall order to save an entire lap of fuel in what will be probably around 20 to 25 minutes of running. It's going to be a tall ask, but that is an option for him. If he can stick with Craig Broadbent and save enough fuel in the slipstream, then that could help him out here to stay ahead of Billy Ebenheiser, but it's going to be tough.
It looks like some of the guys down the field are starting to go into the pits as well for their second round of pit stops. Looks like Billy's starting to close in as well, so a 3-way fight for second starting to emerge now.
Yeah, the gap's starting to converge. Mark Young not quite able to hold off. So big crash from Billy Ebenheiser. He hit the inside barrier. It's exactly the same as Fraser did, Jacob Fraser, and he looks like he's carrying on, but that is going to be some big damage to that car.
Yeah, I just caught it in the back end of the screen. I was just looking at some of the lap times and everything, and I just saw this massive sideways motion into the barrier there from the Java Sim car. So very unfortunate indeed. There's going to be a lot of damage to the left-hand side of that car for sure. Suspension, the lot. Very lucky that he can still continue, to be frank.
Yeah, I mean, looking on board, the steering looks pretty much straight. So I think, once again, he's got extremely lucky with that one. That Holden must be made of strong stuff to survive an incident like that. So continuing on for now.
It's made of rubber. Just bounces off everything. But it's still going on, yeah. And he didn't even lose that much time, which is what's astounding. You know, that was a proper sideways hit. That would have taken a lot of speed out of the car in the process, as the concrete trades with the paint. and beds into the metalwork, but he's only 1.2 seconds behind Brett Gooden still, so that is astonishing to have that kind of gap despite the impact.
Yeah, he's done a fantastic job to keep it going. It looks like there is a tiny bit of crabbing to that car. Comes through turn 8 this time and manages to keep it out of the barriers. So, yeah, I don't think he's struggling too much. We'll have to wait and see if it gets any worse.
He's oversteering there.
Yeah, I mean, that seems to be pretty much on brand for Billy Ebenheiser anyway. He seems to be very leery with his driving style. So I think he's okay.
Let's go to this battle then for P8, Ricky Packham and Yuda Prasanta. 0.3 seconds away from one another, coming into Sector 1 in their fight for 8th place. And it has to be said, Yuda's doing an amazing job in this first round. He's way up there in terms of the standings. You know, he was struggling, started at the back of the order in P17. He's now P8, so that's an incredible first outing there for the 999. And Ricky Packham also on his debut performance and in 8th, so it's a really good performance from these two.
Yeah, absolutely. They are showing exactly what you need to do to get a good result in endurance races like this, and it's just be consistent and not get into trouble. So they are doing a stellar job on their debuts. I'm sure they're very experienced drivers themselves. So they're just showing what they can do in this series. But Yuda Prasanta not quite able to make a move on Ricky Packham just yet, but gets very close into the hairpin and is probably going to look for a move into the hairpin after the back straight. Battle for second position continues as well. As we are watching the other fight, Billy Ebenheiser is right on the back of Brett Gooden now, coming through the final corners, and he is less than a second behind, about half a second behind Brett Gooden. So Brett is holding on for the time being, but he is not long for third position, I believe, providing he can put on a stellar defensive drive to keep that indestructible Holden of the Jarvis Esports team behind him.
Yeah, it's not only damage, but it's gaining speed. So it's almost like Fernando Alonso when he used to drive for Ferrari. And did you remember when he damaged his front wing and it went half a second faster as a result? Maybe that's what they're doing. If I shed body parts and if I adjust the panels more aerodynamically, I can go faster than anyone else on circuit. It's a very risky tactic, but it seems to be working for Billy at the moment as he closes down on Brett Gooden. Sorry, he looks like he's maybe going to look down the inside. No, he's not, but he certainly closes that gap down to 0.1 second now, coming into Sector 3.
I was going to say it's a way to change the setup in a fixed setup race by slamming the tyre into the wall. It changes the camber at least. But yeah, he's doing a fantastic job to keep that car up to pace and not quite able to get around Brett Gooden this time, but there is some lap traffic ahead for Craig Broadbent, and Brett Gooden will have to deal with that as well, which could possibly help him out. Can he clear? Yes, Billy Ebenheiser clears the lap traffic before the first corner. That would have been a little bit of a pain for him if he had to get stuck behind Chris Donnelly there, but getting through. And it's just Craig Stoddard ahead to deal with for these top three cars now.
Yes, one thing I do love about this series that blue flags are obeyed by the drivers, you know, and there's massive respect between all of them when they go to fight out on the track. It's always great to see. And even if there is a contact between two people, the other guy usually stays behind and allows them back through if it was blatantly their mistake, of course. So it's a really respectable series. I absolutely love it. Oh my god. Craig Broadbent nearly goes into the back end of Craig Stoddard, and that is the definition of what we call the commentator's curse.
Contact there. Craig Stoddard just kind of got wide coming through the hairpin. Going back onto the racing line, he met Billy Ebenheiser, and they both made contact. The cars seem okay, but that's more damage for the left-hand side of the Jarvis car, which again doesn't seem to be affecting him too much, but it's because he's right on the back of Brett Gooden again. But yeah, that wouldn't have been ideal for Billy Ebenheiser there.
Yeah, I will take the blame for that one. I was praising and praising, wasn't I? I was going too far with it, and I just I took off more than I could chew, and we paid the price for it. So apologies, everyone.
Yeah, we flew a bit too close to the sun there, didn't we? But yeah, Mark Young is quite a ways back from this this battle for second position now. He is about so he's really fallen off the back here as Ebenheiser really closing in on Brett Good now. This could be a move coming into the hairpin if Ebenheiser can keep up the momentum. Return 8. Sorry, Matt, you go on.
No, I was going to say their last lap times were pretty much identical, but Billy was ever so marginally quicker that time by, as he decides to wait for another opportunity, not going down the inside at turn 8 on this time by. But these two are really putting everything on the line, and Gooden's having an amazing race so far, up by 4 positions from the drop of the green flag, so he's looking pretty good out there, and of course sitting on that all-important podium position.
Yeah, Craig Broadbent just managing to break away a little bit from these this battle now. He is a good second and a half or so ahead of Brett Gooden, as Brett is going to have to start looking in his mirrors and defending from the bright green and black. Holden coming through Wakefield now, not any moves on here, but you can just see how much that Billy Ebenheiser is pushing that car. Brett Gooden possibly started to lose some tyre life now, as he did pit that 1 lap early. And he's not really staying with Craig Broadbent to save the fuel he needs. So this could be the unravelling of Brett Gooden's strategy, but we'll have to wait and see, as there's probably another 10 minutes or so before we get to the last pit stops of the race. Go through turn 8 here. A little bit of an interesting line from Brett Gooden. He's lost a little bit of pace, but keeps the position for now from Billy Ebenheiser. And this is just working into Craig Broadbent's favour here. He is just driving off into the distance. Gap up to around 2 seconds nearly between him and Brett Gooden. So it's really not helping Brett Gooden's chances of a podium here, as he goes a little bit wide at the apex through the final corner, just about cuts it back and closes the door on Ebenheiser before he can make the move. So good defensive driving there from the Starship Racing Holden, but it's starting to look like Ebenheiser is a stronger car towards the back end of this stint. The 90-degree left and right-handers here in the first sector. Obviously no room to make a manoeuvre here. Brett Gooden sideways there, coming out of the right-hander onto the back straight now. Similar exits from both drivers, but Ebenheiser can have that slipstream. Don't think the slipstream is too powerful in this race, as you don't really see them close in on each other. I don't think the straight's quite long enough for it to have effect. But going slightly defensive there as Brett Gooden goes tight to the inside, holds that position for the time being. Ebenheiser is starting to drop back a little bit here. Maybe his tyres starting to go off in the latter stages of this stint, as well, as he is going to have all of the dirty air from Brett Gooden to deal with.
Yeah, we are going to quickly approach the next pit window. I think we've got about anywhere between probably 10 minutes away from the next window. Maybe a bit earlier for Brett Gooden for obvious reasons. And that's when we'll see whether or not his strategy has indeed paid off or not. Craig Broadbent, in the meantime, is slowly creating that buffer zone. 2 seconds now as we approach the next lap. We have 2 other battles starting to unfold as well. For 8th, Ricky Packham still trying to hold off Yuda Presanta. And you've also got Craig Stoddard and Chris Donnelly starting to come together as well. 0.7 seconds between them. We'll stay with the battle here for 3rd, as it is slightly closer, but we'll keep an eye on those as well as they unfold. And as I say that, Craig Stoddard has lost a bit of ground to Chris Donnelly, so this is now the closest battle we have on track at the moment for 11th place. Chris Donnelly having a few issues of his own as the race has unfolded, but he's now in a good position to attack and take away that 11th place.
Not quite close to making them. Look at the drift for Craig Stoddard. Looks like he pulled the handbrake nearly to get through there. Maybe some issues with the downshifts causing the back end to lock, and But yeah, that was a very impressive drift there from Craig, but that's not going to hurt. That's not going to help his tyres at all.
No, certainly not, as of course they will start to become very worn at this stage as well as we approach that next window. So he's got to make sure that he looks after these. And as you say, pulling the handbrake certainly not going to help things. It looks cool, but it's just not quick.
Looks very cool. Battle for third still. It's got a little bit stagnant for the time being. Looks like Ebenheiser is just trying to save some tyre life to maybe attack towards the end of the stint. Look at their lap times. Billy Ebenheiser about 6 tenths of a second quicker that last lap. So he definitely is a quicker driver, but finding the room to overtake on this circuit, there are opportunities, but you have to be close to make that move stick. So he's trying still, not close enough again into the hairpin. Gets close on the exit, gets a better line into the hairpin, but yeah, just absolutely nowhere to go when it comes to making a move, especially through this final sector. The final corner they go there. You can see that Brett Gooden is just starting to avoid those curbs, so maybe getting on those curves for him on worn tyres is starting to spin up the rear and cause some issues. Obviously no such issues through the first chicane, as that is the line through there, but yeah, the gap's starting to increase ever so slightly, so yeah, the battle is just on hold for the time being. It's definitely not over, but it's just a bit on hold.
Yeah, Craig Broadbent's slowing up ever so slightly as well. 1:19.7 for the last lap time, which is pretty much on par with what the chasing cars are doing as well. So everyone's just starting to think about that final pit stop and how best to approach it for the last sprint to the finish, it seems.
Yeah, track temperature seems to be creeping up as well. I mean, it's 44-degree track temperature at the moment. Oh, was that Ebenheiser in the wall slightly again?
There was another glancing blow for the Holden. Yeah, that's it's going to have problems in Parc Ferme, I think, at this rate. It's not. It's going to be a motorbike, but he's still in this fight. Yeah, but he's still in this fight. He's lost a bit of time though. That's the only thing. It's only going to be a matter of time before those glancing blows start to have a real impact on the stability of that car. And you know, he's got to stay in this fight for third place now. So he's got to start paying attention and looking after those tyres. He's got plenty of opportunities in the final stint. You know, if I was Billy, I would just simply look after the car, even though it's already beaten up, but look after it. It's obviously still got pace, and just wait for that final pit stop. We know that Brett Gooden has been pitting early. That's going to be your chance to overcut and potentially defend for the final part of the race.
Yeah, he's not going to be held up by Craig Broadbent. Craig's a good 3 seconds, well, 2.5 to 3 seconds ahead of Billy Ebenheiser. So, yeah, just holding back and just using Brett Gunn just to tow you along in the slipstream is yeah, something that should be crossing his mind. But as I was saying, the track temperature 44 degrees. I'm not entirely sure if that's gone up since the start of the race, but surely having a track as hot as this is going to start affecting the tyres as well.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of high-speed corners here, isn't there? So these tyres are going to be absolutely shredded each time for, well, 20 minutes, I believe, 20 to 25 minutes each time when they come into the pit lane. We're seeing it all over the place, these cars wheel spinning, especially those rears. And it's just having to manage the throttle as best you can to make sure you get to the other end of the pit stop in one piece. But everyone seems to be doing a fairly decent job of it so far. Just some doing slightly better job than others, and that's what's making the difference in this fight. This battle for second has been absolutely fantastic, though.
Yeah, absolutely. 3 cars battling all race long, as Wayne Walker has just made his stamp on the race. He's got 30 seconds, he's got the fastest lap, and he just continues on his own to what will be quite a dominant performance once again. If he can get to the end in the final 20 minutes, sideways there goes Brett Gooden. Through the right-hander onto the back straight, but able to carry on.
Ricky Packham has DNF for some reason. I think he's lost connection. He just disappeared. I saw him going down the order Yuda and John Slow going through, and I tried to view his car and it just wasn't there. So I think connection problems there for Ricky. So very big shame, having a great race until that point.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very big shame, and not the way he wanted to. Probably wanted to start and finish his season, but surely we will see him back in the season next year to put in a full-time effort, hopefully. But yeah, back to this battle for second. Craig Broadbent has backed off and is into the clutches of Brett Gooden and Billy Ebenheiser now. Yeah, towards the end of the stint, looks like Broadbent doesn't quite have the pace needed. We saw it in the last stint as well. He did drop off the back of Ebenheiser until obviously Ebenheiser made that mistake. But yeah, look at all three of them really close together now coming through the first sector.
Looks like Billy tried to have a little look. Oh, he's actually going very wide in sector 1 right there. So he looked like he went for the inside and was mid-circuit for the entry of the next corner, but of course that resulted in that very wide line on the exit. Luckily there was a bit of runoff area for him to utilise to prevent that from going into the barrier. But we are now, surely, 20 minutes now remaining here in this 90-minute race. That final pit stop is looming and is imminent for some of the drivers. Especially keep your eyes on Brett Gooden. He will be coming in surely in the next couple of laps for that final pit stop, and it will be very crucial to see how long he stays stationary in that pit stop in comparison to the others. And it could be Billy's only opportunity to get past for that final time. Billy's actually following him into pit lane, interestingly. So he's not going to go for the overcut, which I thought he would be doing, but this is very interesting indeed. Now it's going to be pretty much a service race, which I believe Brett Gooden's going to win. You know, potentially Billy will have some fuel left in the car and therefore might get going slightly earlier, but this is be interesting indeed.
Yeah, absolutely. As we see, yeah, Mark Young came into the pit lane as well. So yeah, the one off strategy here now is Craig Broadbent. So he's going for one lap longer.
And Billy's up and moving.
And
he gets past.
And he has jumped him in the pit lane. And that is Brett Gooden. The first time in this race he has lost out on a position in the pit lanes. So not the best of what I'm assuming will be the final stop for Brett Gooden, but he is on the back of Billy Ebenheiser now, and he is going to have to deal with Paul Robertson, who is yet to make his stop as well. I'm assuming he will be coming in on this lap coming. Craig Broadbent, he is coming up to the pit entry in a moment, and he dives in as well, very late diving in. Hopefully he doesn't catch a penalty there for coming into an unsafe pit entry. So we'll see where Craig Broadbent comes out. He went the lap longer, so is the overcut, did the overcut work that keep him ahead? We'll keep an eye on that one. Billy Ebenheiser getting around Paul Robertson here, and Brett Gooden getting caught up behind him. So that is a disaster for Brett Gooden, as he now has a car between him and Ebenheiser. So they're coming through the final sector now. Craig Broadbent still stationary, and Paul Robertson between them. Craig Broadbent back underway. Robertson in the pits. Where they could come out, is Ebenheiser able to get the jump on him? I don't think he's going to. No, absolutely not. Craig Broadbent's got a fantastic gap there. He's doubled his gap from the pit entry there. So yeah, the undercut there really did not work for Ebenheiser and Brett Gooden.
A battle for 5th place as well. Alex Kiedis and Mark Young. Alex Kiedis is missing a front wing for some reason, even though I swear, yeah, last lap time was a 1:22 and 23 respectively for both cars, as there's a minor contact as Mark Young touches that rear end plate, but no full rotation to be seen, so that's good news. But I'm not too sure what's happened to Alex Kiedis there, but definitely not having the best of times in that last crucial moment of this race in his fight for 5th.
Yeah, I don't think Alex Kiedis has made his pit stop yet, so he is a bit further up the order than he should be. Obviously, he has to come into the pits and sort his splitter out, unless he wants to have a very interesting time in the final part of the race. To the inside, there goes Mark Young through turn 8. That was a very brave manoeuvre into the braking zone. That's going to be a nice, easy move for Mark Young there to get himself back up into 5th position. and back chasing down the other cars in that battle for second, but he is a long way back, about 12 seconds off the back of Brett Gooden now. So battle for second has spread out somewhat here. Craig Broadbent has a good 2 seconds on Billy Ebenheiser, who also has a good 2 seconds on Brett Gooden. So this should start to converge towards the end of the race, as we saw earlier in the stint. They all seem to come together towards the end. But so for the time being, this is just starting to cool down a little bit as they get settled into the final stint.
Yeah, not cooling down. Wayne Walker's now setting purple sectors all over the place on that new fresh set of tyres, and now sets the fastest lap, a 17.2. So he's still having fun, even though the gap is quite large. It's 33 seconds. That's a monumental gap there to Craig Broadbent. And yeah, he's still having fun, putting challenges of his own in place, and trying to get to the checker flag in one piece, but he's definitely just on a different pace at the moment.
I reckon he got a bit bored, just going around on his own. So, setting on the fastest lap, why not? But
for the satisfaction, just the satisfaction of it all, just putting everything on the line, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, going to see how close he can get to his qualifying time in the race, I'm imagining. But hopefully he doesn't push it too much, because it would be a disaster to lead the race for the entire way and then end up throwing it away. To me, I was doing another commentary, a different series. One particular racer was leading for the entirety of the race, had a good 20 or so second gap, and just stacked it on his own and lost the race. So certainly something you need to look out for. So I'm sure Wayne Walker won't do that. He's not one for making mistakes. But now I've said it, who knows?
I was just about to say that. I've already cursed some people today. Now it's your turn. So we'll see.
I've just got to say someone else's name wrong and it'll be fine.
The battle for third is it's ebbing and flowing at the moment. We have a new personal best for Brett Gooden at 18.2. Billy Ebenhauser is setting 18s, but typically on the latter half, the higher side, 0.6, 0.7. So this could be a battle for third re-emerging as we get to the end of this race. Have to wait and see. Got some lap traffic as well. Matt Ogg is still going strong in P12. He's the next piece of traffic to be navigated by these guys.
Yeah, so currently sat in, with the drop points included, Matt Ogg currently sat in 15th in the championship. So not the best of championships for him, unfortunately, but ending the season off strong here with a nice solid 12th place. If he can get to the end, obviously in the final 13 minutes. But this race really has flown by, hasn't it? It doesn't feel like it's been over an hour of racing. It's been fantastic all throughout once again.
Well, these guys have really been pushing, haven't they? You know, it's almost been it's just sprint racing separated by pit stops. To me, that's the way that I've seen Adelaide for this year. It's been absolutely fantastic, and the fight for third and second has been astonishing. It's been pretty much alive from the drop of the green flag. As the blue flag goes by, Matt Ogg stays over to the left and allows Brett Gooden through. That's cost him a bit of time. He did actually close up to Billy quite considerably in that lap traffic, but that's all been thrown away once again. But still 1.2 seconds between these fighting duo for third place. That's going to be a really good way to end the season. Oh, Billy going deep into the final corner, it seems, drifting his way around for good measure and back up to speed, but now that's allowed Brett Gooden to get into that slipstream once again. 0.8 seconds as they come across the start finish line.
If that was me, I would have gone into the barrier. So how on earth did you manage to keep that in one position in such a big drift? I have no idea, but yeah, fantastic work for Billy to keep that on the road. But yeah, no, he's now very much under pressure as those tyres will be way too hot from Brett Gooden. So this is Brett Gooden's opportunity now to get back up into the podium positions and capitalise, while Ebenheiser has to nurse those tyres back down to the operating temperature. Oh, we say that he gets very sideways on the curb, and that ruins his run all the way down the straight. So he's going to have to wait for the time being.
Seems to be very good under the braking zone at the Brabham hairpin at the moment, so able to close in just ever so slightly, sub 0.7 seconds now for Brett Gooden and the 88. For the standings, he's had a very good end to the year, it seems. Had a DNF last round, unfortunately, but he's sitting on 1741. And I'm trying to work out where that will place him in the standings. If we had the results here today, I think Billy is actually the closest competition that he's got on 1500. So I think this is crucial for Brett Gooden to finish here this evening to prevent Billy from overtaking in the standings. So of course that looks like it's going to happen.
You say that as
again, it's the commentator's curse. It really is. You say something like that, and instantly the next corner they nearly crash. It's quite comical, really, isn't it?
He got very close to the back of Billy Ebenheiser then. Is very lucky to not plough straight into the back of that Holden. But they're both back on the road, and Craig Warben is just happy to see this happening as he just drives off into the distance to start to secure that position in second, which would secure him second within the championship, because obviously Stephen White is not here and Mark Young would not be able to match him. So finishing strong in this season after having what can only be described as quite a dire first part of the season. Ebenheiser wide once again, coming through the penultimate corner. He's really struggling, it seems now. So maybe that damage that he got earlier on in the race is starting to compound itself and maybe affect him, because it is it seems to be right-handers he seems to be struggling on at the moment.
Yeah, he just needs to hang on for another 9.5 minutes. That's when the checkered flag will finally be dropped here at Adelaide, the final round of this championship. Seems like an eternity, though, from inside that Java Sim car, it seems. As Brett Gooden seems to just keep piling on just a bit more pressure each lap that goes by.
As soon as Brett Gooden gets a little bit closer, though, he gets a little bit sideways on exit the corner, or he nearly he misses braking point and it just drops up a little bit back as well. But so he'll need to get that back, get that under control if he wants to challenge Billy Ebenheiser here. Very close to the wall.
Yeah.
Turn 8.
He had a bit of understeer at that turn 8. Yeah, I thought that was a code brown for sure for Brett Gooden.
Sort of Australian swearing going on in the cabin of that Holden, I can imagine. But he's able to maintain the pace for now and is really hustling Ebenheiser here.
He is gaining ground. It's 0.4 seconds now between these two as they enter the next lap. Only probably, I'd say, 3 to 4 laps remaining here in the final round at Adelaide. So if he's going to make the move, it's going to have to be pretty soon. He's closing that gap down in sector 1. This seems to be where he's really strong. It's just the latter half of the lap where the speed gets put down that he seems to lose that ground ever so slightly, and it widens back up by a tenth or two. He just needs to make sure that he gains that ground and holds it, and then he can make a move down into the hairpin after Brabham Straight.
Yeah, so this is the opportunity now that he really needs. He's not going to be close enough this time to make that move, but if he can stay close to the first sector, this will be the opportunity that he will need to get through and get third in this final race of the season to really help his championship. To keep Ebenheiser behind him. I think as it stands, Ebenheiser should still finish behind him, I believe.
Yes, he will, yeah. If things stand, I think Brett Gooden would need to retire, and Billy would have to have an amazing result, which he's on track to do, in order to claim that position.
Yeah, so obviously Brett Gooden, I think he doesn't want to push too hard, but he definitely wants that podium to round off the season. So he's really pushing here. 7 minutes to go in this race. We're on lap 62 now. It really does not feel like we've done that many laps. But Wayne Walker is just in control of this race, and seems like he's just on a little bit of a track day on his own out there.
Yeah, this is, as you say, going back to Brett Gooden in that podium position. I don't think, if I recall, I don't think he's had a podium all year long. So in order to end on a high of this in that way would be absolutely incredible for him and the Starship Holden team. So I'm sure that's exactly what he's trying to achieve here in these closing few moments. But it's all putting, if you put all those cards on the table and if it goes wrong and he DNFs, he could be under threat.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing to look out for as well, if Craig Broadbent's starting to just reel himself in a little bit as well, just to get to the end. He's got a decent gap, about 4.5 seconds or so to these two, but he doesn't want to back off too much, otherwise he is going to fall into the clutches of Billy Ebenhauser and Brett Gooden and have quite the end to this race as we come up to finish laps 61 now. Sorry, lap 62.
Yeah, I think Craig's just put down the hammer now. He's got those new tyres. Oh, bit of an issue here for Billy as they switch back after the centre chicane. Brett Gooden trying to get down the inside, but it's cut off quickly by Billy as they get back up to speed, entering the next set of corners. This is the right-handers now, Wakefield and East Terrace. No gap to be found anymore, but that was a really bad move. Coming into that first corner, Billy just got it all wrong. Went straight over that second curb and just lost a lot of momentum in the process.
Yeah, unfortunately, Brett Gooden had to take avoiding action to avoid hitting him as well, so he's lost some momentum as well. So it's a net gain for nobody in that particular instance. Luckily, they managed to get away without having a big crash between them. But yeah, it's really starting to spice up now. Possibly the tyre's starting to go on Ebenhauser. He does push the car really hard, so the rears are going to be screaming at him at this point in the race with just under 5 minutes to go in the race. So he needs to be careful that he doesn't throw it away here. We've seen a couple of mistakes creeping earlier in the season from Billy Ebenhauser, so he's doing a fantastic job so far, but he needs to make sure it doesn't happen because Brett Gooden is going to be there to pick up the pieces, and also possibly Mark Young as well if the incident's big enough.
0.5 seconds once again coming into the centre chicane. Aggressive attack on the curves for both drivers as they come into turns 2 and 3. It just really has the ability to close in on that Holden ahead in these few corners. It's just the latter half of the lap. A bit too much curbage on that particular corner. Which one was that? That was Flinders Street, I believe. And a bit of a moment here coming onto the back straight as well. So just seemed to twist the car to the right and then left, and that unsettled it. And now he finds himself having lost time all the way down through to turn 8.
Oh, on the wall again. He's touching that the left-hand side again. That's going to cost me a little bit of momentum and some more damage. I'm not sure how much of how much damage that rear suspension can take, or the left-hand side of the car can take on that Holden. But he really does need to be careful. There's only 3 minutes to go in this race. There's 2 more laps, just about. Or maybe 3 more laps
potentially.
Yeah, he really needs to be careful and throw it away in the closing stages. Not entirely sure what Wayne Walker's plans are. He's really backed off, so he's going to try and end the race as soon as possible. So Brett Gooden running out of time here. He might have a lap less than he thought to get this move done, so he really needs to start pushing now.
Yeah, just looking at Chris Donnelly, he's going into the pit lane with 2 minutes to go. That's disastrous for his hopes. He was P10. He may be losing out to Craig Stoddard and Matt Ogg, it seems. But yeah, back to this battle for 3rd place. But I just want to note that, just in case something would happen to him. He's back out on track now. But yeah, Billy Ebenhauser trying to hold off Brett Gooden once again. 0.4 seconds on the charge down the Bradman Straight once more. He's got to make the move, and he's got to make it fast. 2 minutes still remaining. Not too sure where Wayne Walker is out on track at the moment, but he's at least 35 seconds up the road.
Yeah, so he's just come through the first sector, well, the first corners there through the centre chicane. So he's just started lap 65, so there's going to be 2 more laps here.
Yep, and that's 2 more opportunities left for Brett Gooden as Billy Ebenhauser touches the grass on the penultimate corner. That gives him a bit of wheel spin on the exit of the final corner, and Brett Gooden closes in ever so slightly, 0.3 seconds coming over the start finishing line now. Centre chicane is up next. Once again, rough on the curves by both drivers, maximum speed being carried through. And into Sector 1 we go once more. Wakefield corner, both navigated very nicely by each of the Holden drivers. And Brett Gooden just slowly, he's lost a bit of ground this time by, it seems. It's 0.5, 6 seconds I see on the boards as they come up onto the screen and updating for us. And yeah, he's lost some time going onto that back straight. That seems to be where he's getting hurt the most. That's when he needs that gap to come down in order to make that move into the hairpin. That's the safest and most realistic opportunity that Gooden has, and it's just not coming together when he needs it to.
Oh, as he gets very close into braking there, just about gets the car stopped. But yeah, Ebenheiser just seems to be that little bit stronger through the latter half of Sector 1. And is just able to maintain the position where it matters. So he's doing a fantastic job as we are coming on to what will be the final lap. Wayne Walker is currently going through Sector 2 with 30 seconds of the race to go. So this will be the final lap. So one more opportunity for Brett Gooden now coming on to the final lap of the race. He's a little bit further back than he would have liked to be through Sector 1 now, closing up through the chicane. This is where he's stronger, gets sideways on two wheels, very nearly into the barriers. He's really pushing now, gets the car just about stopped. He's right under the rear wing of Billy Ebenheiser. He goes wide. This could be opportunity, not quite for Brett Gooden, not making that move stick, and he's lost that gap there as the timer hits 0, and Wayne Walker is coming up to the final part of the lap. Coming through the final corner now, that's going to be another dominant performance from Wayne Walker to take the final race win of the season and secure a very dominant season for him. Fastest lap as well for the time being. But let's get back to this battle for third position. Brett Gooden, look at the inside. Oh, they make contact. He lets him through, does Brett Gooden, and rightly so. That was a very optimistic dive, and that's going to be his final opportunity done. He had to do it, but Craig Broadbent will now come to take second position in this race, secure his second position in the championship, and then through the final corner comes third and fourth. Now Billy Ebenheiser does a fantastic job to get third position, holding off Brett Gooden in the final stages, and then Brett Gooden coming home in fourth. What a fantastic battle that was.
Yeah. Not too much you can say about that, is there? That was from start to finish between all of those guys. Craig Broadbent kind of drove off in the distance for second place there at the end of the race, but yeah, tooth and nail, everything on the table from start to finish. That was incredible to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. Mark Young coming home in fifth position. He couldn't quite hold on to the other two cars there. He's a nice little nice little J-turn in that car to end his race. But yeah, what a fantastic battle from start to finish between them. Wayne Walker once again.
Sorry, I just saw, it's always the thing with sim racing. We finished the race, I saw crash into one another now, so it just caught me off guard that time.
Oh, Wayne Walker is doing some obligatory celebratory donuts on the start finish straight. I think he stalled it. That was embarrassing. But yeah, what a dominant season for Wayne Walker. He's been absolutely untouchable for the second half of the season. Clearly the Enduros seem to be his bread and butter, as that's where he's taken most of his wins, it seems. Yeah, what an absolutely brilliant performance, securing his third title in as many years, and I'm sure he'll come back next year to try and make that 4. But I'm sure there will be many that will want to take that away from him. Craig Broadbent takes second in the championship as well. Again, what a fantastic second half of the season he had. I think he could have had the pace to challenge Wayne Walker in the early stages, but just didn't have the performance he needed when Wayne Walker was having his issues. But yeah, Billy Ebenheiser, what a fantastic end to the season he's had. He wasn't really up at the top end of the field at the first half, but really has improved his pace in the second half of the season and comes home with a podium to round off the season. So fantastic result for him.
Yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic, and what a way to finish, as you say, at Adelaide. It's always one of those circuits that just has everything. It's got those tight corners, those narrow pieces of tarmac, those concrete walls, and then those wide open long straights to let those cars stretch their legs. But let's quickly go through the results officially then as they come onto your screen. for you, and we already know that Wayne Walker has taken his 12th victory in a row, and that is, I believe, 18 victories out of 24 this season. An incredible tally to be proud of, I'm sure. And then Craig Broadbent had it to defend from pretty much start to finish against Billy and Brett Gooden for that second place, but that final pit stop, crucial manoeuvre, and was able to put down the power to secure that all-important second podium. Billy Ebenhauser and Brett Gooden, we've seen that pretty much for the last 20 minutes on stream. Great race between these two, but it is Java Sim Esports that come home in P3 and Brett Gooden in 4th. Mark Young for Peanut Racing, solid top 5 for that gentleman there, and Paul Robinson in P6. Alex Kiedis ran into a few issues at the end of the race. He settles for P7. Not too sure if he'll be happy with that. It's still some decent points, but of course, given that qualifying pace we saw, we was expecting him to be higher up. John Slow in 8th, followed by the newcomer Yuda Presanta in 9th. Great opening race for him. Chris Donnelly rounds out those top 10. And moving on to the next page, we have quite a few retirements, unfortunately, but Craig Stoddard comes home at P11, followed by Matt Ogg and the Oggy Racing Team. Brilliant name, love it every time. And then, unfortunately, we have DNFs for the rest of the field, which is Ricky Packham, who is on his debut performance, running into a connection issue, I believe. Jacob Frazier, really fast bloke there, but just running into a few issues. Justin Bryce, who was somehow invisible, and then John Wade and Bradley Martin rounding out your final 2 positions for you. But I believe this is the point of the stream where we interview our race winners, if they're here with us, Dave.
Yep, they are. So we'll start with the race winner and championship winner, who's just now confirmed. Wayne, congratulations. You've had quite the end of the season there. We've just worked out, what was that, 18 wins in 24 races. You finish out with win, pole position, fastest lap, perfect slam dunk weekend. You've seemed pretty untouchable for the last half of the season here.
Yeah, just I don't know what sort of happened, but yeah, it just seemed that I had a little bit better pace than everybody else. The second half of the season, especially.
Yeah, it's been fantastic to watch. You didn't get too much screen time this time, as you were just off on your own. But yeah, do you plan on coming back next year? Just try and make that 4.
Yeah, definitely be back next year to try and defend the title. So yeah, I hope we can get some new people in as well. Bit bigger fields, and that would be good.
How has the car felt this year? Of course, if I understand correctly, you had open setups the previous year, and you've gone into a fixed setup for this season. How have you found the car in comparison to the approach that you had last season? And has that helped you or made things more difficult to defend this championship?
I think if anything, it's made it easier. You can more concentrate on learning the track better, because you don't have to keep playing around with setup all the time. And sometimes when you've got to adjust the setup, you sort of chase your tail.
Yeah.
Whereas fixed setup, you just concentrate on your driving and getting the track, perfect every corner.
And how have you found
that?
Yeah, sorry, go on.
The car, the stock setup is pretty good, I think. We're doing very similar lap times to last year. Some tracks even quicker, but other tracks maybe a little bit slower. But it's pretty good.
And I hear also that there's some new machinery coming in for next year. Is that correct? Or I've been listening like a fly on the wall, and maybe you've got some new cars. Have you got anything to say on that? On what's up for next season?
The guys that are the guys that make this mod are making the new ones, but I'm not sure when they're going to be out, whether we'll be able to use them for the next season or not.
Well, I mean, is there anyone you want to shout out to, or anyone you want to thank for the season? I mean, I know it's been you driving and you've been doing all the work out on the ground, but it's been an incredible season for you, and it must feel absolutely incredible to be crowned triple champion here.
Yeah, it's awesome feeling. Just all the admin at DUS, They do an amazing job to get these races organised and running smoothly. Also yourselves for the broadcast and all the other competitors as well, because without them it wouldn't be possible either.
Well, we thank you for those kind words, and it's been incredible to watch you fight with some of the fierce competition here this year as well. My only regret is that we came too late to see the other 2 seasons with you at the front and fighting the rest of the grid as well. But thank you for giving us a show this evening and giving us some good pace at the Adelaide Circuit, and congratulations once again there, Wayne.
Thank you.
All right, brilliant. So, next up we've got Craig Broadbent, 2nd position this evening and 2nd in the championship as well. Craig, that seems to be a pretty good end to the season considering how it all started for you.
Yep, I got a new PC halfway through the season and everything smoothed out a little bit. I felt a bit more consistent in the second half. I racked up some points and put myself in 2nd, so I'm happy with that.
So you had a little bit of a battle with Billy Ebenheiser and Brett Gooden in the kind of the starting phase of the race. Did it feel good to just kind of break away from that and just keep the consistency to get that decent gap ahead of them?
Well, it turned out to be about consistency. Both of them made a mistake once they got in front of me, and I got back around them, and that's all it took. It's just a matter of trying to do lap after lap and keep it off the walls, basically.
Fantastic. So, are we hoping to see you in the next season? Possibly bring the momentum from the latter half of this season into the next one, and possibly fight for the championship win?
Yeah, I hope so. Definitely plan on it. So we'll see what becomes of it.
And what have you got in terms of... Sorry, Dave, to interrupt you there, but what have you got in terms of planning? Is there anything you could maybe take away from this season? Any areas that you've identified that you can work on, maybe knock off that extra 10th or 2 that allows Wayne Walker to just have that edge on the race weekend?
Look, a lot of it comes down to just time in the seat at each track, and I haven't had as much this year, but I also raced last year, so I was fairly familiar with all the tracks that we race on. But yeah, I think it just comes down to seat time at the end of the day and trying to work on your approach. Maybe my approach is a bit different to Wayne's. I know Wayne does a lot of laps with full fuel, and I tend to do a lot of laps with qualifying fuel in the preparation. So maybe his way is the way to go.
Well, there you go. Well, it's been great. You've given us some great battles. You've had a few podiums and a few wins yourself as well. And, especially with Stephen White, unfortunately he's not here with us this evening. That would have been a great showdown between you two, as you're quite close in the standings. But, you are now in 2nd place, and tell us how that feels.
Yeah, good. Unfortunately, Steve didn't make it tonight. I actually thought he was going to. I'd worked out where I needed to be if he was going to be in front of me, and it was only a couple of positions between us in points to take the championship. But unfortunately he didn't make it, so we didn't get to see that. It would have been good.
Yeah, well, it's been great to see you all fight between yourselves for the leads of the race and whatnot. But thank you for giving us a show. It's Dave, anything else from yourself?
No, not from myself. Just congratulations once again, Craig, and I'll hopefully see you in the next season in the new year.
Well, thanks, boys. Appreciate it.
Thanks again.
Okay, and finally, Billy Ebenheiser. What a fantastic way to finish your season with a podium. It was well fought with Brett Gooden, just about holding off his challenge at the end there. How was that for you?
I think this race is so intense. And what a start from Craig, so fast. and then I got mistake after the chicane because my game freeze, and then I lost focus, and then I forgot to brake at that corner. And great battle with Craig and Brett, and nice racing from Brett, because at the last lap he hit me, and he regressed, so I got 3rd position at last. maybe that's all.
Yeah, so that finish does bump you up a couple of places, I believe, in the championship. Not entirely sure where that would end you, but yeah, you've seen to have started to come into your stride a little bit in the second half of the season. Is there anything you were doing to prepare yourself a bit better for the results, or was it just a case of luck and the consistency?
Yeah. Sorry, my English is not good at all, so sometimes you thought I some don't understand. Sorry.
That's right. So Billy, when you was you hit the barrier through turn 8
Yes.
quite a few times, how did you manage that? Was the car damaged? And how did that affect your race?
I somehow I got damaged. I mean I got damaged and the steer a little bit not straight, but when I repair I got only 30 seconds, so it only took 1 second for repair that car, and yeah, I don't know how.
You're very lucky indeed, because that was some hefty knocks on that concrete barrier, and as far as I'm aware, car and concrete don't mix well. But yeah, it was a great race for you, and throughout the whole season, how have you seen as the season? Have you ended up where you wanted to be in the standings? And did you have any aspirations or goals coming into this year?
I think not at all, because this is my first season and I don't know how to drive this car. First time I got so I so confused with this car because it's so too easy to spin, and and the tire is so like that, like sorry. And then I love this community. Is the racecraft is so good. It's I mean the best in any race I ever had. I love this race. I think I will participate next season.
Yep, that's what we like to hear. We wouldn't accept any other answer. That's the thing. We're not going to let you go until you say you are. So, but it's been. Thank you for many races on screen. It's been pleasant to watch you, and congratulations on that podium once again. And back to you, Dave, if you've got anything further to add.
Yeah, just again, congratulations, Billy, and congratulations to our final podium sitters for the season. So we hope to see you all again in the new season, in the new year, and Wayne will probably be adding probably about 50 kilos to you for ballast, just to make it out every year.
We tried that, it didn't work. He just got faster.
Yeah, you put it all on the rear tyres.
Thanks again, guys, and enjoy the rest of your evenings, what you have left of that, and we'll hopefully see you all in the new season.
Thanks, David, Matt.
Yep.
Thanks again,
guys.
Thanks, guys.
See you later.
So that rounds up the final round there, Dave, for the 2022 Servo Australia V8 Supercar Championship. And yes, it's been mega. It really has. This is the first time we've covered this series for the guys, and they're a great community. They're a great bunch of people, very approachable, very friendly, and on top of that, the racing is just spectacular, as you've seen this evening. And the rest of the live streams are available on our channel. You can go through all of that and see just how good it is. There's been battles throughout the entire year. At every circuit that we've been to, and we've been to some incredible places as well. Some places I didn't even know existed, but they've been giving us some of the best action I've ever seen, especially in these mega machines, these V8 supercars. So from myself at least, it's been absolutely a pleasure and an honour to cover this series for the guys. Please consider getting in touch with them if you do love your motor racing, you do love your V8s. All the descriptions are in, all the links are in the description down below, should I say, and you can get in touch with them super quickly, and I'm sure they can hook you up for the next year, which I'm sure they are already planning to get underway. But Dave, is there anything for yourself before we sign off for this evening?
Yeah, just thank you again for the guys at DOS for allowing us to cover the series. It's been an absolute honour. Thanks again to the series sponsors, Noble Host and Servers Australia. You've given us a fantastic platform that allows some clueless Brits to commentate on a race in Australia without any issues. So yeah, thank you once again. Thanks you for joining us for all of the events as well, and hopefully we will see you all in the next season.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm not too sure. As I mentioned before, I believe they're looking into getting some new cars for next season, but you know, for the time being, for the Mustangs and the Holdens of this year, the 2022 season, they've put an amazing show for us. And from us here at Adelaide Street Circuit, we're going to leave you and sign off for tonight. So from us here at Chequered Simsports and myself, Matt and Dave, we will sign you off and to say good night. So take care and goodbye.